Say it with me now, friends. This fucking team! Oh my God. I've been in my apartment for a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. It's getting close to 2 years. There are 2 sliding doors separating the living room from the dining room, which when we moved in, the landlord was like, don't fuck around with these doors. They don't work. Keep them in there. And I had to pull them out for right now so I could do that. So I don't wake up my family and get shit from my wife. Because this team deserves it. Man. It is so great to be able to root for a group of basketball players where this team, look, I mean, we had a lot of questions before the season about them. I certainly had a lot of questions about the season. I think I called 43 wins as my preseason prediction. And deep down in the dark recesses of my soul, as certain folks on certain text threads will tell you, I think if you asked me, what do you think's more likely, that they go a few wins over or that they go a lot of wins under? I think I would have chosen a lot of wins under. I have my doubts. For a lot of reasons. I loved the Brunson signing, but coming off of last year and just how bad the vibes were, how unstable I felt just top to bottom in the organization they were, from the front office coming off the Donovan Mitchell summer to the head coach to ostensibly the best player, Julius Randle, to RJ Barrett, a guy they nearly tried to ship to Utah. And then all the way on down, and right on down to one Emmanuel Quickley, a guy who literally all he did was everything that was asked of him for 2 years. And it took till the last weekend of the season for him to get a real chance to start. And shout out to Benji Ritholtz, put out a poll a few days ago asking about whether Tibbs has helped or hurt Emmanuel Quickley's development. And, as always, the truth lies somewhere in between. But top to bottom, I had questions. And I thought if this thing went right, okay, maybe it could go a little right and it could get a little bit better than I thought they might be. But if it went wrong, oh my goodness, could this go wrong? And then when they were sitting there at, forget even 10-13, I remember it was yesterday after Game 7 against the Hawks when they were up by 20 and they lollygagged that lead away and they ended up getting blown out by Atlanta. I wrote the newsletter the next day. I think the coach is on the hot seat. And then it kept going where they picked up a win here and there, but continued on. You could argue they saved their season on the West Coast road trip, Utah game, Denver game, and then that Dallas game, that first Dallas game. And I find it so incredible that the pivot points for the season revolved around Dallas. There's something fitting there. The trade that essentially defined this version of the Knicks, right? Because if they don't make that Porzingis trade, there's an argument that Steve Mills keeps his job, and there is no Leon Rose era, and there is no Tom Thibodeau, and there is no, maybe there was no Julius Randle if they don't make that trade in terms of to get the cap space, and they would have still had their power forward. So I find it fitting that those 2 Dallas games serve as the major pivot points, because the first Dallas game, the way they lost it, you figured the season was over. And then they rattle off 9 straight wins. And that is the first time, obviously, 9 straight wins, where they were like, no, we're better than you thought we were. And then they kept it going. And then the second Dallas game happened, which, players say it all the time that, for us, it's never as good as it seems when it's great. It's never as bad as it seems when it's terrible. For us sitting there that night, I remember how I was feeling that evening and oh my God, this is the worst loss I've ever experienced. And the way they bounced back from that showed how much character and how much grit and how much toughness, mental toughness, physical toughness, emotional toughness was in this locker room. And right on through till the Josh Hart trade, and then 9 more wins. Think about it, they had 2 9-game winning streaks, or an 8-game winning streak and a 9-game winning streak this season. Think about that. And, shaky ground the last week. Got the get well game against the Houston Rockets. Thank you, Houston. Couldn't pull one off against Brooklyn tonight, unfortunately, but we'll be thankful for what we have. And they got their mojo back tonight, because on a night when the 2 pillars of this team, and if you want to throw in RJ, because again, don't forget, before the season, it was the mid-3, right? It wasn't the big 2, it was the mid-3. And if you want to throw in RJ there, you could throw him in there as well. Go through it right now. Julius Randle, 1 made field goal. RJ Barrett, in the first half, 0 made field goals. And then Jalen Brunson ended up the game with 5 field goals, 5 of 11 for 12 points. But Jalen Brunson was clearly not himself. All kinds of rusty. And to the point where he did not close this game. And I sent a text to my brother was in the garden tonight. Shout out Chris Coco. Watching. And he texted me, I think with it was a little under 5 to go, maybe 5.5, 6 minutes ago, something around there. And he was telling me how electric the Garden was, and how, this small ball lineup, we're going to talk about that small ball lineup to close the game, how much it was working. And I texted him, I said, I got to tell you, I don't think I would bring Brunson back into this game. And I never thought in a million years that Tom Thibodeau would heed my advice telepathically. But he did. And that's because on a night when Julius Randle, we're going to talk about Randle, and shout out to Julius Randle for toughing it out for those free throws. And we're going to talk about him. He did not have a good night. And I am a little worried about how he came out, and equally worried about his standing moving forward, because that was a pretty bad ankle sprain, but we'll save that for a bit. On a night when Randle didn't have it, when RJ didn't have it for a half, and when Brunson didn't have it, for you to find a way to beat that Heat team, and look, let's call it like it is. Did the Heat have it tonight in the way that we've seen? Like the Heat team that they beat tonight, did they come out and play quite as well as the Heat team that was in their own building a week ago? No. But you know what? Home court advantage, right? It's supposed to mean something. And for us tonight, I think maybe it finally did. We did not get Jimmy Butler's best, but you know what we did get? We got Gabe Vincent's best, and we got Duncan Robinson's best. And even so, for the Knicks to come out and that game was tied after 3 quarters, and we were missing, again, and one all-star on this team, and he was gone. And they absolutely put their foot on Miami's throat in the way that the Miami Heat so many times before have put their foot on the throat of so many teams. That is what they do. And now it's what we do. And that's how we won this game. With defense, with toughness, with grit, without any excuses. Saying we don't have our all-star, our other should have been an all-star, Jalen Brunson doesn't have it tonight. None of it. None of it. And how do they do it? They did it with 2 25th picks in the draft. Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes. And you want to throw in Josh Hart in there too, who was, I believe, was he the 30th pick? I know he was in the late 20s, or maybe he was 30, whatever it was. Another late first-round pick that they traded for. Great trade. And another guy who I believe he was a second-round pick. I don't know off the top of my head what pick he was. Isaiah Hartenstein. Best backup center in the NBA. He's been the best center on this team for a while now. And not to be outdone, the Undertaker himself. He's never dead. When he could be comatose. He could be like literally in a coma. And yet comes out of halftime and he finds a way. And that's RJ Barrett. And they just scrapped and clawed and they won it with defense. And they won it with a coach who adjusted to the moment. Credit to him. And credit to also, like, I do think there is something to be said for the fact that we talk about mental toughness and we talk about how strong the locker room is and we talk about all these sorts of things. That sort of culture does have to be fostered. And obviously I'm not going to bore anybody with waxing poetic about Tom Thibodeau, but nice to see him go with what was working down the stretch and not try to pivot away from it and go with the guys who got him that lead. But this team is just everything you could possibly want as a basketball fan. I thought the team 2 years ago was great and not great. That's the wrong word. I thought they were as good as it gets because they were so scrappy and this and that and the other thing. They lacked talent. Let's just be straight. They lacked talent and they did it a little bit with smoke and mirrors. And then they were kind of exposed when what happened in the playoffs happened. But even before that, like whatever, I think the 9-game winning streak started with, what was that, about 16 games to go in the season, 15, 16, 14, somewhere around there. Not many games left to go in the season. Before that 9-game winning streak started, they were an under 500 team. I think they were 1 or 2 or 3 games under 500, something like that. So like even that was like a whole season. This team is different. This team from, again, you knew they had some talent over those first 23 games and they just couldn't put it together. And since that 23 game mark, since that first Dallas game, everything you could possibly want with the talent that they have on this team. They are getting the absolute most out of their talent. And we're going to talk about all the individual players. And I wish I had 10 minutes to wax poetic about each of these guys. And I hope in the comments, people spread the wealth and don't focus only on the guy I'm going to bring up first. And that's Emmanuel Quickley. I don't know. Is it time we stop talking about where the Knicks' third star is going to come from? You know, I've said for a while now, I'm in the minority on this, and I'm sure I'm going to catch shit for it. But like I've said, I wish RJ would lean more into just being the best role player he could be. And like, again, there are role players in the NBA who get paid $100 million contracts and earn it because they play their role. They do everything. They check all the different boxes, without having to do too much creation. Like that's the definition of a role player. You're not someone who spearheads the offense, which RJ, by the way, can do and did tonight. And they needed it because, man, were his buckets big in the second half. I want to say his second to last bucket, it was a drive when Quickley had missed a few in a row. And it looked like they were a little struggling for offense. And he put his head down, drove the lane, converted. But like, I feel like between these two players, I'd like RJ to lean a little bit more into, let me do all of the other things as great as I can. I'll get my chances to create here and there, whether it's with the second unit or whatever else the case may be. Quickley, man, I think he's different. I think this guy is a star. I remember the fourth preseason game of his rookie year, that Cleveland game, when he came out and in the first however many minutes it was, what did he score? Like 8 or 9 or 11 points in like the first couple minutes and was dishing assist after assist. I was like, whoa, we found our point guard. And that was a little premature, but you saw it then. You saw it then, and you saw it in his rookie year, never afraid of the moment, big shot after big shot. Certainly saw it down the stretch of last year. And then after a rough shooting start to this season, like he's going to win 6th man of the year. That should be so. I think he sewed that up tonight. And I said it with Chris Herring on the pod that we just recorded. Like, there's only been in the last 30 plus years 2 6th men that fit, 6th man of the year award winners that fit this profile. Young player in their, I believe, so Hero was in his third year, and I think Harden was in his third year as well, if I'm not mistaken. Andrew, you could fact check that on me. But both of them were young. They were on their rookie contracts. And everybody else has been 24 or older. And, like, I think Leandro Barbosa was 24. So, like, James Harden obviously went on to become an MVP. Tyler Hero went on to, what did he sign for? 4 years and 120 million, 114 million guaranteed, something like that. Maybe 110, I forget, whatever it was. It was over $100 million. And he's a guy that has been talked about as maybe future potential all-star. I know Knicks fans, some Knicks fans have been having this conversation for a while, but I think the conversation needs to expand. What can't this guy do? What doesn't this guy do well? You want offense creation? Well, he certainly created a hell of a lot of offense tonight. You want passing? The pass that he threw to Isaiah Hartenstein when he was falling out of the bounds from the corner, what was that? I don't know if I've seen a better pass than Nick make this made by a Nick this year. Took command of the game. Best player on the floor tonight by far. Best player on the floor for 2 straight games. He was best player on the floor a few weeks ago, whatever it was, in Boston. Like, this guy's a star, man. This guy's a star. And I just hope he's a Knick for a long time. And I hope they realize what they have. I have to think they realize what they have. I mean, it smacks you in the face. It's so obvious what this kid is. And he's a third-year player. 25th pick in the draft. And then, not to be outdone, Quentin Grimes, the 25th pick the next year after Emmanuel Quickley. A lot of jokes made this summer, right? A lot of jokes made. Oh, Mr. Untouchable. Now, we know from the reporting that isn't quite accurate, but the jokes were made. There's a reason you don't trade a guy like Quentin Grimes. And this is Quentin's, his third 20-point game in 4 outings? That's pretty good. That's a pretty good sign for a second-year player who was once upon a time a top 10 recruit. Things didn't go right. And again, you want to talk about how they have built this team, and credit to the front office for getting guys in here with character that have been down, that have been top 10 recruits. Hello, Emmanuel Quickley, and then knocked down a peg, sent to the bench, been forced to transfer because you're not getting the time because it didn't work out for you at your first school. In the case of Quentin Grimes, fell all the way in the draft. Quickley was supposed to be a second rounder. Quentin Grimes was supposed to be a second rounder. They grabbed both of these kids. Shout out to Walt Perrin or whoever wanted these guys, whether you want to give West credit, you want to give Tibbs credit. Tibbs allegedly loved Quentin Grimes. What Quentin Grimes did tonight, rescuing them early on when they were sleepwalking through the beginning of this game. Certain players were sleepwalking through the beginning of this game or just didn't have it. And down the stretch. And both of them with their defense, and shout out to Josh Hart with his defense. I already talked about RJ Barrett. Fantastic second half performance from him. Really, really outstanding. They don't win this game without his efforts and contributions in the second half. And then I'm going to finish it with a guy who, lot of post games through the first. There's always one, right? 2 years ago, it was Elfrid Payton. Last year, it became Alec Burks. Not because Alec Burks is bad, but because Alec Burks was playing a position he should never be playing. And this year was Isaiah Hartenstein. Someone's got to be the punching bag. It's a player, right? Because you can only shovel so much shit on the coach. And it was Hartenstein. And it was Hartenstein for the first 2.5 months of the season. Probably 2.5, 3 maybe, even months of the season. Maybe even 3. I don't know. Maybe really, I'm trying to think when it turned around. It might have been early January, mid-January, somewhere around there. Right around, it was early January because of the stops, right, at the end of the game against Cleveland. The Cleveland win that ended the little mini losing streak they had around New Year's. And since then, he has been, without question, the best backup center in the NBA. And he has become an instrumental part to what they do night in and night out. You want to talk about a guy that absolutely changed the complexion of the game. And I don't want to say like Mitchell Robinson was bad. I think that's a little bit too strong, but Mitch has been a little off lately. And I don't want to end the monologue on a negative note, but like there are concerns moving forward. Mitchell Robinson has not been great for a little while now. Has had spurts after halftime against Houston, came out and completely changed that game. And then tonight, maybe not as much of an impact. Julius Randle, what was going on? Forget the ankle sprain. What was going on when he came out in the first quarter? Again, can't question his toughness. Shout out to him. He shot the free throws, didn't want to exit that game. Since the 57-point game, something has been off with Julius Randle. I don't know. Maybe he needs a few days off. I don't know what it is. I just hope the next time we see him on a basketball court, it is the version of Julius Randle that we got used to for the first 70-ish or whatever it was, 72, 73 games of this year. Because the guy that came out of the locker room tonight is not going to help them win basketball games. Brunson, I don't worry about. He'll be fine. RJ, we've been down this road before. I hope he'll be okay. Or eliminate some of these clunkers in the first half because that definitely hurt them. But, like, so there are concerns, there are questions, but hey, talk about burying the lead. I don't want to say it yet. I don't want to make any proclamations yet because nothing is officially wrapped up. But, I think we're going dancing, baby. I think we're going dancing. We'll see where they end up. We'll see what seed they end up in. Nets won tonight, as I said. Nets have an Angel Food Cake schedule coming up. A couple tough games. We'll see what the Philly game, if that matters to them, or if that matters to Philly, I should say. So haven't wrapped up the 5th seed quite yet. Although, again, maybe we'll get into some of the tiebreaker stuff as we go on tonight. This was a huge win. This was a huge win. It was a massive step towards the 5th seed, and it all but locked up a playoff berth. And man, I don't care how many years I don't care if you've been watching this team for 3 years. You still went through a lot of pain and suffering. That's how bad last year was. But if you've been watching this team for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long it's been, 50, 60, you've been through a lot of shit. So, man, pour yourself one. I got mine. Sip it. Enjoy it. These are the nights. These are the nights that make you thrilled to root for a team like this when they give it back to you, what you've given to them. Whew. Okay. Personal injury report. Let's do it. Then we'll do a moment of the game, and then we will get to the super chats. Personal injury report, of course, presented by our good friends at Weiss and Rosenblum. Call Weiss and Rosenblum today if you think you might have a personal injury case, 212-366-6100. Or visit them at weissandrosenblum.com for more information. Again, consultations are absolutely free. If they take your case, they do not get paid unless you do. Prior results don't guarantee future outcomes. But go with a veteran, not a rookie. And hey, listen, the Knicks have a bunch of young players, but they are a team of veterans. They are young veterans, but they are veterans. Much like Weiss and Rosenblum. Again, 212-366-6100. Obviously, the personal injury report tonight, we go from Jalen Brunson to Julius Randle. Julius Randle's been the most durable player in the NBA this season. It was him and Anthony Edwards, and then Anthony Edwards had to miss a few games there. And now we don't know what's going on with Julius. So the next game is against Cleveland on Friday. And then they play 2 days after that. And that is a game against the Wizards, who are still fighting. The Wizards demolished Boston last night. So that game may mean something to the Wizards. And then they have 2 days off. And then they go Indy, New Orleans, Indy. We'll see what happens with it. Am I going to be, I'm just going to be honest, and this may be, oh boy, this may turn into a cold take. So we'll see. But I don't know if I'm going to be heartbroken if Julius Randle has to sit a few games. Again, is it that he's tired? Is it that he's mentally drained? Is it that he's some combination of the above? And that's why we've kind of seen him the way he's been the last couple games. I don't know. But the notion that maybe a few days off might not be the worst thing in the world for him. Look, I don't think it's, at this point, I don't think it's going to affect his All-NBA candidacy. I know he wanted to play 82. if he doesn't get to do it, I mean, it is what it is. No one's going to question his toughness or his heart or anything like that. He's a bull. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Julius Randle. Okay. Moment of the game, and I'm going to have to do this solo because Andrew Claudio, and speaking of toughness and grit, shout out to Andrew Claudio. I don't know if he said this publicly. But Andrew Claudio, can I tell you? Can I say what you have?
You could say it.
Yeah, he has bronchitis. So he summoned his inner Emmanuel quickly to tough out this postgame.
And as a result, you will not see me chime in as much as I normally do. But you missed one thing, John.
What did I miss?
That was a brilliant start to the postgame. The vibes are back here in New York. But for one final time this season, can we take 10 seconds? All of you watching out there that find it cute when your star player has 10 points going into the fourth quarter because he's actually not him as much as John Macri thinks he is, that thinks this Pat Riley run team that is one loss away from falling down to the 9th seed, this great Heat culture, this team, John Macri, that is supporting Kyle Lowry at how many millions of dollars had to turn to Duncan
30.
Robinson, who actually kind of killed us at certain points tonight, because that's how desperate they are. That on Udonis Haslem night lost by 30 points at home. This is who we were afraid of. Alonzo Mourning is not walking through that door. Tim Hardaway is not walking through that door. Dwayne Wade is not walking through that door. LeBron James is not walking through that door.
Ronnie Cycli?
This run is over, and we can put this team in our rearview mirror. So wherever you are, please take 10 seconds to laugh at the Miami Heat, because they already left midway through the fourth quarter because they've got dinner reservations. Go ahead, John. Enjoy your post.
That was better than anything I said in the first 25 minutes of this podcast. All right, moment of the game. I will do this solo. The one that two quickly ones have to be there, and neither of them were like late in the fourth quarter as they were making that run, and so I'm gonna have to pick something from the run. Here are the two that absolutely need to be there. The Emmanuel quickly over the backboard shot gave the Knicks 26 points, and then he stole the ball right after that on the next possession. That might be the shot of the season, at least in terms of degree of difficulty. That's one. The Emmanuel quickly pass to Isaiah Hartenstein, that actually was in the fourth quarter. It put them, hold on, exceptional live streaming here, gave them 81 points. It gave them the lead. It broke a tie, 81-79. And then for the third and final one, there's two candidates that I have. Emmanuel quickly got credited with the steal on this play, but I think Isaiah Hartenstein's defense on Bam Adebayo to stifle the initial action was just as important. It's the quickly steal that led to the Grimes dunk that I believe capped off. Yes. It capped off the an 8-0 run. It made it 94-85, and that's the moment where it was like, oh man, they're going to win this game. I think I'm going to go with that because it was so exciting. But I do want to give an honorable mention to the RJ Barrett 3 that made it 100-89 because that was the nail in the coffin. So honorable mention to the RJ 3, but got to go with the other three for the three candidates. They had to do it. Okay, those are our moments of the game, and I can't wait for this. I'm so excited to do this. So I'm gonna take a deep breath, a big smile. I love that Haitian is starting us off here. My main man, Haitian Ferg. You're gonna get an email from me soon. I'll just tell you that. Shout out to you, man. The team bounced back, and I'm so proud. It's on Quick. It's both him and the coach. He kept his ass in the gym, and the coach rewarded him. That's it. I love with this team. I'm in love with this team, and we will look back and appreciate Tibbs. He is the identity and the culture. Well, look, I am obviously, as everybody knows here, the preeminent Tom Thibodeau pom-pom waiver, whatever you want to say, agent, PR man, hype man, all the things. I think I do think a coach sets the tone to a certain extent, but it's the coaching staff. It is the organization. The reason I always have given Thibodeau credit is more comparing what has gone on since he has arrived, and also Leon Rose and his team in the front office. They play a big role in this too. I compare that to what's been going on the last 20 years. And it's not an easy city or an organization to come and coach or run from the front office. Where I think it gets most interesting for me is if I know nothing, to be very clear, but I would wager a not insignificant sum of money that if you gave Emmanuel Quickly truth serum and you're like, so what do you think of the fact that Tibbs never gave you a real shot, down until the very end of last season? I bet he would have some choice words, right? But here's the thing, and I've read, enough. I've read enough about great coaches. I mean, I'm thinking about the Lombardi biography that is a fantastic biography that I should know who wrote it, but I can't see it on my bookshelf at the moment. But you read about any coach, the great coaches oftentimes, most of the time, really throughout history, this has changed a little bit of late, but throughout history are not guys that players like, they're not warm and cuddly and fuzzy and the whole thing. Obviously the players have to believe in them. They have to respect them. And I don't know, maybe they do need to love them to a certain extent to put it all on the line for them. But the fact that Quickly has had to continue to make it so that I'm not going to let you keep me on the bench. Basically, I'm going to force you to put me in the game because I'm going to make you look like such an idiot if you don't. How do we reconcile that, right? I don't know. And it's tough for me because obviously I'm a supporter of this coach, and I'm sure there are people who would examine the situation that I just kind of presented and be like, what are you kidding me? The coach is an idiot for taking as long as he did. And maybe that's true. I don't know. But look, he has them where he has them now. So credit to him for that. And I think he deserves some credit. Thanks, Haitian. Appreciate you, man. Greg Film Stuff. Thank you for the generous contribution, Greg. Horrible first quarter. Bad timing for a Randall injury, but it was impressive to see the team get the win down the stretch without Brunson, Randall, and Mitch. Nice to see Grimes get 36 minutes and finish the game. He is getting comfortable. Not only did Quentin Grimes get 36 minutes, did he finish with 36 minutes? Because if he finished with 36 minutes, unless I am mistaken, that would mean that he played the entire second half. And I'm sure people in the chat are like, yes, of course he played the entire second half. Did you see him come off the court? And I can't think of a moment when I did. I'm not as cognizant about these sorts of things as some others, but yeah, he had to have played the entire second half because I know he only played 12 minutes in the first half. Awesome stuff from Quentin Grimes to not come off the court. Again, another guy. Now, Tibbs, I think, was a little bit more pro Grimes right from the start than maybe he was at times pro Quickly. But still, I'm gonna force you to keep me on the floor, and he did, and it paid off. Thanks, Greg. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on, Dom? How are you, my man? Were you as surprised as I was with that late run after a mostly tense second half? Bless your heart, Hart Brothers. I am beside myself with pride for this freaking team. Get that filth. Forget that fifth. I was supposed to say get that filth. This team is filthy. I don't know how many lead changes and ties it ended up with. I believe we were the last I remember Ed Cohen saying, did he say 23 lead changes? I don't know if it was over 20 at one point, and then there were a bunch of ties in there too. But my heart was, I don't know how you felt, from like from the middle of the third quarter onwards. I felt like my heart was in my throat, like beating like a mile a minute. And then, so I figured, and it was funny. I was thinking in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and it was back and forth. I was thinking back to the spread on the game that I saw beforehand, and it was Knicks by 6. I think is the spread that I saw. And I was like, and again, I don't bet, but I occasionally I do have these thoughts like, man, if I just went with my gut, and like, there's no way that this one team or another team is going to win this game by 6 points. I was like, I should have taken the freaking Heat. And sure enough, they go on that run. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked, and I was shocked as much as not from what we did, although our defense has been poor for a while, and the fact that they won it with defense was surprising given how they've been playing lately, but that wasn't shocking. What was more shocking to me was just like, I mean, I'll throw it back to what Andrew said before. Miami we stepped on their necks, but they were kind of laying down to die as we were stepping on their necks. I want to make sure, I want to give the Knicks credit, all the credit in the world. They won that game. They took it from the Miami Heat, but like that Heat team I was not impressed necessarily with what they did in the fourth quarter. I'll say that. Thanks, Dom. Appreciate you as always, man. David Futternick, what's going on, Fuddy? How's the karma today, Fuddy? I got a chicken cutlet sandwich waiting for me after this is over. A monumental night for the Knicks front office. Give credit where credit's due. Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Hart all make this W happen. The future was on display tonight for all to see. Leon and co deserved to crack a little bubbly. You don't want to celebrate too early, but yeah, absolutely. That's why I want to make sure, for as much as, I'm inclined to praise the coach, the front, look, let's just call it like it is. Leon Rose. Like, I know that he's not, he probably might not get any because of the whole tampering thing. He deserves Executive of the Year votes. How could he not deserve Executive of the Year votes? Like, even if you want to throw it back to the Mitchell trade, which, I think opinions are still divided on whether or not the Knicks should have made that trade, as we watched Donovan Mitchell go off for 44 points against the Atlanta Hawks last night. But, like, they stood their ground, and I think at the very least, even though many, including me, questioned the process there, I think the spirit behind that whole thing was correct. We're going to draw our line in the sand, and we're not going to overpay. And there was no of the final iterations of that deal that we heard, that were reported. They included either Emmanuel Quickley or Quentin Grimes. And look, the reporting also indicates that the Knicks may have been willing to let go of Emmanuel Quickley in one of those iterations. So, like, sometimes you can get a little bit lucky, and maybe it's better to be lucky than good. Even so, drafted Grimes, drafted Quickley, kept them. Obviously signed Brunson, obviously signed Hartenstein, traded for Hart. Great trade. Fantastic trade. Didn't trade Julius Randle when people like me were begging them to trade him. And yeah, just all the way on through. And oh, by the way, one other thought I had tonight, briefly. I remember when they didn't trade Toppin at the deadline, I was on here with Jeremy, and I was like, we were trying to rationalize it, and I was like, you know what? If the best they could have gotten was a couple of second-round picks, which I believe was the best they could have gotten, like, what if Randall gets hurt? And was like Toppin a huge difference maker in that game? Maybe he wasn't a huge difference maker, but that three at the beginning of the third quarter, that three sure felt big in the moment. Because there was a little bit of uncertainty. The Heat came out. They scored the first several points of the third quarter. And then Toppin hit that 3, kind of calm things down. Only played 17 minutes, but who knows how much they're going to need Obi Toppin now in the next week or so. So they decided not to move on, from him. All good stuff. All the credit in the world to the front office. Credit to Leanne Rose, the whole group. Good call, Fuddy. Will Oliver, what's going on, Will? There's the statement win. Yes. Been saying it for weeks. You're going to need one more big win. Got it tonight. Proud and inspired. Big heart. Yep. 100%. Thanks, Will. Appreciate you, man. Hope you're doing well. Dom Cappuccini with another one. Get well, Jules. I really mean it. We need him. Yeah, of course they need. They need the version of Julius Randle that we saw for most of the season. That's what they need. They need a fully operational Death Star. And really Julius for the better part of 45, 50 games was unstoppable offensively. He was absolutely unstoppable, and he gave you enough on defense to keep you honest. That's what we need. And if they get, and this is where it's like things have been uneven for a little while now. If they could somehow go into the playoffs, I'm saying it. If they could go into the playoffs with that version of Julius, with the best version of Brunson that we've gotten, with this version of Quickly, with this version of Grimes, with this version of Hart. I mean, this version of Hart is the only version we've known as a Knick because he's been great since he's been here. This version of Hartenstein, the version of Barrett that we see occasionally, right? It's been more often than not since the All-Star break, so that's a good sign, even though the bad is still very bad. And then Mitch, hopefully Mitch gets himself right and on track and the whole thing. If they could somehow get all of those things lined up, then we're back to Robert Cross's crazy talk with the Eastern Conference Finals dark horse. Thanks, Tom. Danny Gardner. It says a lot about Brunson that Tibbs felt comfortable. Yes, to leave him out of the game down the stretch. The man is a winner. That's all he cares about. He only cares about winning. That's that's why, that's part of the reason you feel comfortable giving him all that money, because of the character and what matters to him. And you know what? There may be a day, maybe a day in the not too distant future where Jalen Brunson is going to need to take a step down on the totem pole for this team if they go out and they make a big acquisition and just be, more of a point guard and pull out his little tricks and things when he has to. But that's on the table. That's on the table. And you know what? He'll do it if it leads to winning. And the fact that all the while he's one of the, 5 or 10 best isolation scorers in the NBA. I mean, the numbers say he's the second best isolation scorer in the NBA this season. What a luxury to have a player like that. And for him to be up and cheering and the whole thing. And he didn't care that he wasn't out there. And I haven't seen any quotes yet, but if they ask him in the locker room, hey, I don't know if somebody's going to ask him, but hey, you weren't out there down the stretch. Did you mind? He's probably going to say something similar to what he said after the Oklahoma City game in game 13 when they got their asses kicked, and said something to the effect of, the way I played, I wouldn't have put me out there either, And then think back to after that Dallas game, 10 and 13. I know everybody's going to blame the coach. It's on us. That's what Jalen Brunson said. That's what a leader does. And he's a leader. He is this team's leader. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate you, man. As always. Kara Goldenberg. What's going on, Kara? Tibbs tried to pull the kids, but Brunson waved him off. Of course, it was too good to be true. Did he? If you saw it, I'll take your word for it. If you saw it, I'll take your word for it. Regardless, he finished the game with the guys he finished the game with. And I remember seeing Brunson come to the scorer's table. I will say that. I remember seeing Brunson come to the scorer's table, but I think that was maybe in the midst of that run. And I think maybe something about that run influenced that decision. Sam L., what's going on, Sam? Macri, did you see that freaking laser bounce pass that Emmanuel quickly made from the right corner through two defenders straight to Hartenstein? I did see it. I nominated it as one of the moments of the game. I think it's going to be tough to beat the over the backboard shot that he made, but it's close. It's close. Thank you, Sam. Jesse D., what's going on, Jesse? RJ is the most mentally tough 22-year-old I could remember. Say what you want about him. He doesn't quit. Yeah, I agree. And I think, I think part of that is because of the fact that he does view himself as a star player. And, stars have a mentality. You keep shooting it, What's impressive is very rarely, with some exceptions, the Orlando game being one of them, very rarely is he bad for a whole game, and there will be a stretch at some point in almost every game that he plays where he will come up with some huge baskets and huge plays. And there was a moment, actually, I wrote it down, in the third quarter. Yeah, it was early. It was early in the third quarter. Because it was right before the Knicks took the lead to make it 53-52, where it was a rebound it was a long rebound, and Bam Adebayo was in the area, and maybe he didn't have great rebounding position, but he was in the area, right? And RJ Barrett went and snatched that ball, and I think at first he had to tip it to himself, and then he went and snatched it, and he got it, and the Knicks ended up getting the lead. That's the stuff that I want to see more of, and that we need to see more of from RJ Barrett. So, completely agree. Very mentally tough. Thanks, Jesse. Carlos Medina, what's going on, Carlos? J-Mac, I was wrong about the poor man Steph Curry. IQ started as if he wanted to be Curry with deep threes, but he has finally found his identity. Player comp has been updated to the next Drew Holiday. Man, I don't know if I see Drew, because Drew's physical attributes, because he's big, he's thick, and he could move. And I want to say, I don't know what his wingspan is. I want to say he might be a little taller than Quickly. Not that that's the biggest deal in the world, but for my money, I think Drew Holiday's been the best defensive guard in the league over the last 5 years, certainly, if not longer. I don't know if Quickly has that ceiling as a defender. I do think Quickly has the ceiling to be a guy who will, at the very least, get all defensive votes in his career, maybe even make an all defense team or two. I do think he is that good. I don't know if I could put him on Holiday's level, but at the same time, Holiday's a shot maker. I mean, God, has this man made some massive shots, tough shots over the course of his career. I mean, go back and look at the finals run, the championship run, excuse me. And he's clearly a nominal point guard, right? I think they're different sorts of offensive players to me. I can't verbalize well enough why I wish Benji was on here with me, because he'd be able to do this much better than I am. I don't know if that's the perfect comp. I appreciate where you're going with it, though. I definitely appreciate where you're going with it, though. I think, I'm going to think about this one some more. Because there's got to be a good comp for Emmanuel Quickly, and I'm probably just not thinking of it at the moment. John Sannon, what's going on, John? First time commenter. For the love of Clyde, please send Rowan Jr. back to Toronto. Hashtag Nixon 6. Come on, he had a good second half. What do you want from the kid? He had a rough first half. It happens, It's been probably a few too many rough first halves for him this season. Look, nobody loses their SHIT at my daughter's here or something, even though she knows how to spell that now. Nobody loses their shit over RJ Barrett more than me. Ask anyone on the halftime Zoom tonight. The way when he's going bad, it gets under my skin. Honestly, probably worse than any player I've watched, and I would have thought Julius Randle last year took the cake. And I think RJ this year, when he's not going well, just there's something about it. It gets under my skin even more. But like, again, give the kid credit. They don't win the game without him. And I think there's a real argument for as bad as he was in the first half, and he was 0 of 8, and it looked really bad. I gotta say, I think there was more good than bad from him tonight. I really do. I think there was more good than bad from him tonight. So yeah, that's what I got to say about RJ. Dan Hidalgo, what's going on, Dan? Like you said all year, when we needed a win, we get a win. Completely agree. When they need a win, they get a win, but they didn't need the win tonight. But it was nice. It was nice, right, to get it. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you very much. Jesse M. They better lock up quickly this summer. Blank check. So, like, that's another thought that I had during this game as this game was going on. The notion that we were going to get Emmanuel quickly on an extension that was not going to start with a 1, think that may have gone out the window, because this guy, someone would give this man $100 million contract. I'm convinced of that, because if you just look at the way the league is now, where the skill, as I watch Anthony Edwards hit a 3, right? And they're playing Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns. And we watch a team tonight with Jimmy Butler. And we're watching, the Nets with Mikal Bridges. And I could go down the line, all these different teams and you have these obviously jumbo playmakers like Luka and LeBron and the whole thing. And like, just the evolution of the skill level of wings, where and as I watch Chris Paul, the notion that you need, like, the traditional point guard has been dead for a long time. But like the questions about, well, if you're going to have quickly be your starter, you probably want him to be playing the point guard position, because if you do have a traditional point guard and you do have quickly at the 2, look, nobody loves Emmanuel Quickly's defense more than me. That does make you a little small, at least if you're trying to win a championship. So you probably want to start quickly at the 1, which gets me back to, with all these wings, with all the skill level and who could handle the ball and do all this stuff, like, why can't quickly shown you enough to play alongside one of those guys at the very least and be a starting point guard on a team like that? And the 3-point shooting, the defense, the shot creation that we're seeing, the passing, all this stuff, everything. Like, if you're a team, you're like, why would you not make that investment? And I hope it's the Knicks. I hope it's the Knicks, because he is good, man, and he's getting better. Mark Sable, what's going on, Mark? How are you doing, man? Immaculate vibes are better than heap culture. Let's fucking go. I love it. I love it. I'm still trying to think of a comp for Emmanuel Quickly. I don't have a great one. I mean, Jesus, it is tough. I mean, honestly, lately, watching Mikal Bridges, Mikal Bridges is a bigger player. He's a bigger wing and Quickly has more passing skill than Mikal Bridges. But like, watching Mikal Bridges lately, that's maybe, I don't know, maybe Drew is the best comp. Jessica, what's going on, Jess? How are you? If the Knicks get to 48 wins, that means Robert Cross has the closest prediction out of everyone, even if he fell a touch short. Let's go, Robert Cross. Let's go, Knicks. Yes. Shout out to Robert. We got to 44 wins tonight. We got 5 games left. I think I feel pretty good about the fact that they're going to win. I think they could win. I certainly should win at least 3 of these games. You don't want to write anything in pen. Like the Pacers, I think are tanking at this point. The Pelicans are fighting. They're going to be for that game's. I think that game's going to matter for the Pelicans. I think they're going to want to win that game, and that's in New Orleans. So that's tough. We'll see. We'll see with Washington. I think I should probably check the Chicago score because again, what Chicago does impacts what Washington may be able to do. Yeah. So the Bulls lost tonight. Pacers also lost. Oh, the Pacers put up 136 points on the Bucks. I didn't watch that game. That may have been a lot of garbage time for all I know. But as of right now, I was about to say the Bullets. The Wizards are only 2 games back of the Bulls. And again, that Wizards game that's with 3 remaining after that. That's the fourth to last game of the season. So it's 3 games after that. So it's only 2 games away. So the odds are the Wizards are still going to be alive for a playoff spot. So like the Wizards are going to be trying hard in that game. So, and then obviously the Cleveland game is the Cleveland game. But yeah, I mean, if they get 3 more wins, that's 47. If they could go 4-1, that's 48. That'd be pretty cool. Thanks, Jessica. Appreciate you as always. As a tweet pops up that says RJ Barrett changed his shoes at halftime. Okay. Yeah, just real quick, the Wizards' remaining schedule before I get to Anthony's super chat. They play Orlando on Friday. They play us against us on Sunday. Yeah. So they only have 1 more game until they play us. So they're going to be alive because they have 4 more games remaining after they play us. So yeah, they're going to be alive. They're going to be trying hard in that game. Anthony Sixto, shout out to LeBronchitis for sticking it out. Thoughts on what teams will do with Emmanuel Quickley come the playoffs? A lot of film prep and game planning headed his way. I think you just pressure him. I think you pressure him because we sat here and talked after the last game, the Houston game, and again, that is not a real NBA defense, about how important it was and how good it was that he kept the dribble alive. Tonight, obviously, the Heat is a defense that knows what the hell they're doing, and they trapped him, but he managed to get the ball out. He managed to make the right pass, make the right play. But in terms of like not letting Emmanuel Quickley beat you, you try to deny the initial penetration and make him give up the ball, which then puts the onus on the other players. Now, here's the good news, right? The good news is that the Knicks have a team full of ball movers. Like, again, say Quentin Grimes has become, the guy he grew up as a point guard. Josh Hart could put the ball on the floor perfectly fine. Had some, his drive, and it wasn't the fast break dunk. He had another drive in the fourth quarter that he got the ball at the top of the key and just put the ball on the floor and drove it home. He could put the ball on the floor. Obi Toppin could put the ball on the floor a little bit. And then when you throw in Isaiah Hartenstein, that I think is part of the reason why Tibbs, obviously it's a big part of the reason why Tibbs likes going with Isaiah Hartenstein, is because of his ability to be an offensive presence other than a lob threat and an offensive rebounder. It really does add a different dimension to this team when you could put 5 guys on the floor, all of whom feel very comfortable with the ball in their hands. And that is the one thing you can say about Mitch in a bad way early on, is obviously, which is what makes the social media nonsense so stupid. I'm not calling him stupid, but to be very clear, I'm not calling Mitch stupid, but for him to go out there and be like, I should have a bigger role in the offense. If he's serious about that, man, go back and watch the tape tonight. You're not, you can't handle the ball. So anyway, back to Hartenstein. That's good. And then needless to say, Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, all guys who are fully capable of, if you're doubling someone else on the court, they're going to be able to take advantage of that. So the Knicks have a team full of these guys, which makes me think back to last year's Boston Celtics. Why did everybody say the Boston Celtics were going to win the championship last year after they got rolling after the RJ shot? Because we're like, they put Nothing other than Robert Williams, and who could make a few plays, by the way. I shouldn't diminish Robert Williams. Robert Williams is a much more skilled offensive basketball player than Mitchell Robinson. Maybe not much more skilled, but he's more skilled to a significant enough degree where it makes a difference. But everybody on the floor for the Celtics could make a play with the ball. Dribble, pass, shoot. Knicks have the same thing. Really dangerous team. Really dangerous team. Again, offense hasn't been the problem. Sean, what's going on, Sean? Can Miami stop living rent-free in your head now? I don't... Man, old habits die hard, Sean. You know that. You're old like me. Still have a lot of respect for Jimmy Butler. I think it's funny. There was a lot of conversation today about, like, how did the Heat sit Jimmy out of that game last night against the Raptors? Must-win game, the whole thing. Andrew's telling me to trash them in the chat. Like, yeah, I'll say this. It was a big win. That team, I'm not throwing, Andrew's going to hate this. I'm not throwing dirt on them yet because they still have a trade in them. They still have a trade in them this summer. This year, Andrew says I have a shovel. This year, I do think I'm still not sure if I was a certain teams in the playoffs, I'd be dying to play them in the first round. But I do think that there was something missing from them this year. There's something. It doesn't all add up. But if they could turn the Lowry contract, and I don't know if it's going to take Hero 2, that's a lot of money. Whatever. I don't know what they could do, but they do have some draft equity that they could work with. Andrew, you should see what I don't know if Andrew wants me to read what he's typing in the chat. Culture at what's missing. Good talent, good players. Yes, good players are missing. Bam Adebayo is a really good player. Tyler Hero is a really good player, a very good offensive player. And Jimmy Butler, here's the thing about Jimmy Butler, and this is what's going to be fascinating because, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get a chance to bring this up. I will bring it up now, though. Ian Begley, what do I always say about Ian? Knows way more than he writes. And if Ian implies something or even puts a little drop in the bucket mentioning something, you take it and you tuck it away in the back of your head. And he had a piece today. It was responding to a mailbag question in which he correctly levied all manner of praise on this Knicks team for what they've been able to accomplish this year and the continuity and the whole thing. But at the end of it was like, for fans looking ahead to see what might be next. And, he wrote a little thing about Jimmy Butler. And, like, obviously it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that Tom Thibodeau loves Jimmy Butler. And he just, like, kind of floated it out there. Like, what if the Heat decide to go in some kind of a different direction? And what frightens you if you're a Knicks fan, and again, this is coming from me, who called Jimmy Butler his favorite non-Knick in the NBA a couple nights ago. What frightens you is that Jimmy is, however old he is, 32, 33 years old, and the injury, like his body, who knows where his body is at, and who knows where his body is going to be at in a year, 2 years, 3 years. So if you make a play for that guy, should he become available, that's scary. Now, flip side of that coin, does he still have it in him occasionally? Yeah, because we've seen it. We've seen it against us this year, right? But we saw it against us in 2 games. And then in 2 other games, he was like a kind of a non-entity, including tonight. Didn't play last night. It's like, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, Jeremy has been fond of saying of late, where the Knicks are at, they don't need to trade for over 30 players. And Jeremy's smart, and I kind of think he's onto something there. All right. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you. Don't forget, check out Sean on Study Hall and Casual Fridays. He's been killing it all year long. Such a great addition to our team. In the first half, when Emmanuel quickly made that crazy behind the basket shot, all his teammates were celebrating except Randall. Hashtag selfish Julius. I didn't notice that. But I clearly, again, something's off with Randall. I don't know what it is. Here's the one silver lining I'll give you. Maybe silver lining or like devil's advocate or like reason for hope. Oh, wait, sorry. This is the first part of the previous comment. Let me just, okay. So I think, anyway. So BNYK98. Hey, John, I've been a Knicks fan for 40 years. All love to the KFS team and my favorite mensch, Benji. Okay. And then he finishes it off with the behind the basket shot and Randall wasn't celebrating. Okay. I don't think Randall is a guy that you can read into his body language. You can read specifics into his body language. And here's what I mean by that. Is something off about Randall? Yes. Is it very obvious that something is off about Randall? Yes. Is it reflecting in how he's playing lately? Yes. Do I read into that he has a problem with Emmanuel quickly? No. I'm choosing not to do that. You may disagree. But I just think Randall is he needs to get out of it, and I'm not worried about it. And that's the other part about this is like this team. Look, everybody knows what Julius is. If we're all sitting here talking about it, guess who else knows that Julius is kind of like a, he has his things. Everybody in the locker room, they all know it. So, but again, that's part of culture. So you got to take the good with the bad. Thanks, man. Hannibal Miles, play of the year. Tibbs going with the flow and trusting the bench. Emmanuel quickly to close the game. I mean, quickly was never coming out of that game. I don't think RJ was coming out of that game. The question is, if Brunson was set to check back in, and I do believe I saw him at the scorer's table, would he have come in for Grimes or Hart? And to be clear, if he came in for either of those players, would it have been some sort of egregious thing? No. This is a player that I have talked about as deserving an MVP vote or 2 or 3 or 5. 5th place on the ballot, for sure. But he's your closer, he's your point guard, the whole thing. But I do think it did show a lot of trust in Emmanuel quickly. So good job. Whoever was responsible, Tibbs, Brunson, whatever, for letting that group finish the game out. Emmanuel quickly said Julius Randle was in good spirits after the game. It's good to hear. Jesse D. What's going on, Jesse? Down our All-NBA player, and quite literally, everyone stepped up. Was the fourth quarter the best stretch of defense we've seen all year? Ooh, boy. Was the fourth quarter the best stretch of defense that we've seen all year? That's a great game. Or that's a great question, rather. That was a great game. That is a great question, though. Hold on. I want to honor that by trying to think of and not treat it as yes, it was the best stretch we've seen all year. And really actually think about that. I think that only because they're such a are such a better offensive team. What they did to Denver down the stretch of the Denver game, and again, I'm looking at it right now. Denver ended up with 110 points in that game. Denver had 88 points with 3:19 left in the third quarter, which means over the final 15 minutes and 19 seconds of the Denver game. And actually, that's not even the best thing. Sorry. They had 86 after 5:21. So that means in the final 17 minutes, and 21 seconds of the Denver game, they gave up to the best offense or second best offense in the league, 24 points in 17 and a half minutes. That's really tough to do. That said, if I'm just like going about how I felt after that, watching that Denver game, and how I felt watching the defense tonight, I gotta say I think this was more impressive. And I'm just looking back through some of the other wins. The Boston, the not the double overtime Boston win, but the Boston win before that, they held Boston to 94 points, including 19 points in the fourth quarter. That was good. I don't remember getting the same feel from that game that I got from this game. You might be right. This might be. They had a stretch with the winning streak, with the 9-game winning streak, where they played some outstanding defense. I mean, the first game of that winning streak, it was 92-81. They beat the Cavs, but like that was more, I think, just like bad Cavs than it was like great defense. It was good defense. I don't know if yeah, you know what? Sure, best defense we've seen all year. And you know what? Not a surprise, because who was out on the floor? Dom Cappuccini, man, you are too much, my friend. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's watching, everybody who supports the Knicks Film School. The whole thing. This, what we do here, and being able to for me to sit down and like give my thoughts on the whole thing. Like it was fun when I was doing it, and there was a dozen people watching on Periscope. It's a little bit more meaningful when you know that you have a real audience. So thank you to everybody. Dom, you freaking MVP, dude. However long Jules' absence may be, what winning adjustments do you foresee Thibodeau making? Sims iHeart reunion, Josh Hart at the 4, IQ the number 2 scoring threat to close. One way or another, and those were all like questions. One way or another, they definitely need better games from RJ and Jalen Brunson. I believe they will get them. Okay. I thought Thibodeau tipped his hand starting Obi. I think he will continue to start Obi. I think he will play Obi for as long as Julius is out. I think he'll play Obi the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the first quarter and the third quarter. If Obi's going well, it'll be more towards like 7, 8, 9 minutes. If he's not going as well, it'll be more towards probably 6 minutes. I mean, he doesn't really pull starters before the midway through the first or the third. And then if the early stretch is good, then maybe Obi closes the second quarter, maybe Obi closes the third or fourth. What I would expect, and again, we could be talking about a game. Maybe we're not even talking about a game. Maybe Julius is back in 2 days. We don't know. But if it is for however long it is, I think it would not surprise me, and I'm sure it would not surprise anyone, if Obi did not get back in the game, after his opening stint in the first and third, if he doesn't make a significant positive impact, and it becomes, kind of like an Elfrid Payton situation 2 years ago. So where does he go once Obi sits? Well, again, I think he tipped his hand tonight. I don't think you're going to see Sims. I don't think you're going to see Sims. I think you're going to see what we saw tonight. Now, we saw tonight in the second half a 8-man rotation. That was also must-win game, Miami Heat. It was only the second half we had to worry about. My guess, and I say this with some trepidation because it would leave them awfully small. My guess is that Deuce gets back in the rotation over Sims. That is my guess. I could be wrong. I do not think he will go with an 8-man rotation. I do believe he will go with a 9th player. If it's Deuce, let's just talk that out, how that would look. So he's been going with Brunson essentially the entire fourth quarter. With Julius out, you better believe he's going to keep going to Jalen Brunson the entire first quarter. So that means you're going to get Brunson out at the beginning of the second for, I think, Deuce. So then that gives you Deuce. It gives you Quickly. It gives you RJ. And it gives you Josh Hart. Now, Brunson comes back in for Deuce after how many minutes? So then you're running with Brunson, Quickly, RJ, and Josh Hart, along with Hardenstein or Mitchell Robinson. And if what I said before is true, and Obi does not re-enter the game at the end of the second quarter or at the end of the fourth quarter, does that leave you a little small? Well, you saw it tonight. It worked pretty well. Josh Hart obviously rebounds very well for his position. RJ Barrett is capable of, like, we've seen him play the 4. You know, that's possible. I'm not worried about like where the points are going to come from because, again, Brunson, RJ, like the shooting that they have, like, you know, defense into offense with Josh Hart and the whole thing. Hardenstein being, you know, capable with offense. The whole thing. I guess what I'm. Yeah. That's kind of what I would guess is going to happen. I'm just trying to think if that could be particularly dicey with any of their opponents. As I say that, I'm looking and I'm reminded, like, oh, they play the Cavs next, and then they might play the Cavs in the playoffs. The Cavs, notably, have Evan Mobley at the 4, which is perhaps the worst possible matchup for the thing that I just described. I don't know. I still don't know if I see him trusting Sims at the 4. I still don't know if I see that, especially since he's not going to start Sims at the 4. He's going to start Obi. He's going to start Obi against Mobley. You want to know what the reality of the situation is? Here's the reality of the situation. Julius Randle better be back and healthy by the playoffs if they play Cleveland. If they play anyone else, Philly, Boston for sure. Who else could they play in the playoffs? That's really it. It's either going to be Philly or Boston or Cleveland. You know, and Tobias Harris is big, but I think they could survive. If they play Cleveland, I think you kind of need Julius. I don't, man. Now I'm second guessing myself. Does Sims get a chance? If Julius is for some reason, you know what? We'll find out in the next game. They play Cleveland the next game. I don't think Julius is going to play the next game. We'll see. Does Sims get a chance? Maybe he does. They're just Mobley's just so big. I don't know. Now I'm second guessing myself. I think against most teams, what I said initially is what I would go with, and what I think they will go with. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? John, I need you to put your NBA history hat on. It's sure only a little bit into my bourbon. When is the last time an NBA team has hit on consecutive picks in the 20s like Emmanuel Quickly and Quentin Grimes? This is special. You asked me this question now? Man. Hit on consecutive picks in the 20s like this. That's a fantastic question. I mean, does it have to be picks in the 20s? Because, like, I feel like I'm trying to think if Denver, if they had a pick before or after Jokic that was this impactful. I don't think they did. So that's not going to be it. Did Chicago draft anyone notable before or after they drafted Jimmy Butler? No, I don't think they did. Oh, you know what the answer might be? Hold on. I'm going to look it up right now before I say it out loud. Okay, no, I'll say it out loud. I wonder about the Spurs with Derek White and DeJounte Murray. Let's see here. So, yeah. DeJounte Murray, 29th pick in 2016. He's obviously been an all-star. Derek White, 29th pick in 2017. He's got a $70+ million contract and was traded for a very nice package from the Celtics. So I think that's the last time. If there's something else that I'm forgetting that anybody else wants to chime in, feel free to chime in, but I'm fairly certain that's probably the last time that you could say that somebody hit this good on consecutive pick. Oh, and you know who else I want? Hold on, really quick. I think the Memphis Grizzlies probably deserve a mention. I don't know if it's consecutive picks though, because I know Bane was taken at 20, but I'm not sure if they had one. Like they draft really well, but anyway, yeah, maybe Memphis too. I'm trying to think if they have anybody up that is that good immediately before. All right, good question, Kev. Putting me on the freaking spot, man. Chris Burks, what's going on, Chris? Good evening. Good evening to you. If Washington makes the playoffs, do the Knicks keep 2 picks, Dallas and Washington? So here's how this goes, and I began some questions about this recently. The Bane wasn't even technically their pick, but no, they don't even have anything close. Okay, never mind. The Dallas pick, if they finish with a record that is, it doesn't matter where they are before lottery night. It matters where they are after the ping pong balls bounce around. So it doesn't matter if they finish with the 11th or 12th or 13th or 14th worst record in the NBA. If it ends up in the top 4 or in the top 10, they keep the pick. Like on the flip side, let's say they finish with the 8th or 9th worst record in the NBA and multiple teams jump them and they end up with the 11th pick, then the Knicks keep that pick. So I know a bunch of people were asking me about that today. So get that out of the way. With Washington, that pick is top 14 protected. So again, if they make the playoffs, then yes, the Knicks will get the pick. But that's what matters. It's not about record. It's about, for Washington, it's about whether they make the playoffs or not. I don't know how confident I am right now. I think the Bulls have been playing pretty well. Man, I wish that Washington game was later in the season because you want to talk about chicanery. Can you imagine if the Knicks closed with Washington and they had the 5th seed wrapped up, and if they lost to Washington, Washington would get into the play-in? That'd be interesting. Danny Gardner, what's going on, Danny? Let's freaking go. 3-1 against the Heat. How you doing? That fourth quarter defense was unreal. Emmanuel quickly is the man. Grimes stepped up. RJ was huge in the second half. What did I say at halftime? Credit to Tibbs for keeping that fourth quarter lineup. Happy birthday, Clyde. Danny, you always bring what I appreciate with you being in RJ's corner. I think you're in RJ's corner. Is it's always rational. It's always rational. It's always evidence-based. There was a way to show support for your player who you believe in and believe in your player and believe in the upside and the whole thing. But without burying your head in the sand when like things don't go well. And like you toe the line perfectly there. So I appreciate you. And yeah, your faith has been rewarded. Also, GMAC reminds me in the chat that Ginobili and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker were back-to-back picks, albeit not both in the 20s. Oh, wait, no, they weren't back-to-back. Ginobili was in 99, Parker was in 2001. But they were close enough. Those are probably the, like, in terms of, like, late picks that were closest together in draft history, I would say those were probably the best two. Pretty good drafting team, those San Antonio Spurs. Eddie Marr, what's going on, Eddie? Would you trade RJ and quickly for Dame Lillard? My God, why are you breaking my brain at 11:20 at night? I gotta be honest, my inclination, the first response that popped in my head was no. Now, if I pose that to any person who's not a Knicks fan, national media member, someone covering another team, they would be like, "Are you serious? RJ and quickly for Damian Lillard? Like, how quickly do I? How fast? No pun intended. How quickly do I sign up?" My inclination was to say no. For one, the Blazers are not doing that trade. They're doing that trade with draft compensation, and not insignificant draft compensation. So you're giving up those two guys and picks. That's number one. Number two, and this is really kind of what it comes down to for me. Dame is, I always forget, is he 32? Is he 33? Is he 34? Dame Lillard is not a young man. And he just is coming off his best NBA season, arguably. And he is going to make it. I think he's going to wind up making an All-NBA team. He's 32 years old. He's going to be 33 before next season. He's not young. And he's a small guard that, like, his teams have historically struggled defensively. So if you are under the assumption that Jalen Brunson is not going anywhere, and I am under the assumption that Jalen Brunson is not going anywhere, I don't know that Damian Lillard and Jalen Brunson are the backcourt that I am thrilled about if my goal is to win a championship. And obviously, if you were giving up RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley and draft compensation, multiple unprotected picks for Damian Lillard, your goal is to win the championship. Not 3 years from now, not 2 years from now, but like right away. That's the goal. Can you defend well enough with those two in your backcourt? And again, that has to be the question, right? Because if you're giving up a player of Emmanuel Quickley's caliber and you're giving up the draft comp and you're giving up RJ Barrett, who 22 may still have some upside here, as hard as I am on him, you better be sure that, like, when your team is fully healthy and on the court and the whole thing, they can win it all. And I think there are enough fundamental questions about how well that team could defend it, especially if Julius Randle is a member of that team who, so then you have like 3 guys with defensive question marks in the starting lineup. It's just tough. Like, to say nothing of the fact that, like, who's going to be the better player in 3 years when Damian Lillard is 36 and Emmanuel Quickley is 25? Dame or Quickley? I don't know. Read the last thing. So Andrew was giving me an instruction. I am to read the last thing Knicks Film School retweeted. The Hartenstein quote. Okay. Wait, hold on. Isaiah Hartenstein credits Julius Randle with pulling him out of a funk earlier this season and sending him encouraging texts. I love it. That's great. Matt, Aussie Knicks fan, what's going on? Massive win. This team, man, I love a birthday win from the Knicks. Happy birthday. Great control of the game from Emmanuel Quickley. Have to think the 5th seed is looking good. Yeah, it's looking really good. It's looking really good. I mean, I didn't want to do the tiebreaker stuff yet, but I guess we could do it. So Man, I'm talking about not trading for Damian Lillard. What a world. Who would have thought it? Look at us. So, Knicks, as of right now, 2.5 up on the Nets, 4 up on the Miami Heat. So here's how this goes. The Miami Heat and the New York Knicks both have 5 games left in their season. If the Miami Heat went 5-0 and the New York Knicks went 0-5, the Heat would get would advance, would finish above them. That is the only way in terms of a 2-team tiebreaker. If the Knicks go 1-4 and the Heat go 5-0, if it's a 2-team thing, they're finishing ahead of the Heat. The reason why it's different between 2-team and 3-team is if you're in a 3-team tiebreaker, which again is still theoretically on the table, could the Knicks go, 2-3 versus? But even if the Knicks go 2-3, the Heat only have 5 games left. So I'm calling it. We're finishing ahead of the Heat. Finishing ahead of the Heat. The Heat are not going to catch us. The Knicks are going to be able to figure out a way to win 2 more games. I'm putting that out there. I hope I don't regret it. So then it comes down to us and the Nets. So with us and the Nets, we're up 2.5 games. They have 1 more game than us. We have 3 more games left against the Eastern Conference. They have 3. No, yeah, hold on. I think they have 3 more games left against the Eastern Conference too. No, sorry. We have 4 more games left against the Eastern Conference, and they have 4 more games left against the Eastern Conference. So we're 2 up on them. That's what it was, because they had Houston tonight. Sorry. We both have 4 games left against the Eastern Conference. We're 2 up on them in the conference tiebreaker. I am assuming that Philly's going to sit everybody on the last game of the season, and the Nets are going to get that game. So it's going to go from the division tiebreaker to the conference tiebreaker, which, again, assuming they win that Philly game, that's going to give them 1 more conference win. If we win 2 more conference games, so the 2 Indiana games, the Nets cannot catch us because we own the next tiebreaker, which is a record against other playoff teams. If the Knicks win 2 more conference games, that gives them 31 conference victories. The Nets also, at that point, the Nets would have to go 4-0 in the conference just to tie them. And again, it goes to the next tiebreaker. So essentially, if the Knicks could win, if the Knicks could win 2 more conference games, they're going to finish ahead of the Nets in a 2-team tiebreaker. And even in a 3-team tiebreaker, because if it's a 3-team tiebreaker with the Heat, but again, I'm putting the Heat behind us. So I think if you think the Knicks are going to beat the Pacers twice, or the Pacers and the Wizards, the Knicks are going to get the 5 seed. That's kind of where we're at. I think so. And I don't think I've screwed anything up. I think if the Knicks are going to win, if the Knicks could win 2 more Eastern Conference games, I don't think that there's a way that they could lose the 5 seed. Yeah, because 2 more Eastern Conference games goes in 46 Miami. Yeah. That's it. That's all it comes down to. Andrew Palladino, blood in the garden. John, you kept saying this was a playoff game, and this had the feel of one. That it did. This is 1 of 2. Where's his next one? Okay. Obviously worried about Randall, but I think we have enough as it is. Go ahead and wrap up the 6 Man of the Year race and put a bow on it. Yeah, I guess why I'm not as worried about Randall. I'm far more worried about Randall, not the injuries. I'm worried about the other stuff. I'm not worried about the injury stuff because it's what is it today? Today's Wednesday. The first playoff game is in 2.5 weeks, 17 days. I have to think Randall's going to be okay 17 days from now. And I also fully believe that without Randall, they have enough to win, as I just went through, 2 more Eastern Conference games, which is all I think. I'm fairly certain, unless I'm really mistaken. I think if they win 2 more Eastern Conference games, they wrap this up. Unless Is there two more Eastern Conference? Then the Nets, if the Nets go undefeated and finish with 47 wins, okay. So here's how we don't get the 5 seed. We only win 2 remaining games, and the Nets go undefeated. But again, I think it's wrapped up. I really do. I feel like it's wrapped up. I feel like they have enough to get to where they need to get to. Again, assuming the Knicks don't go undefeated or the Nets don't go undefeated. Fingers crossed. But I hope Randall's okay. James Choi, what's going on, James? Bench Mob, RJ, Julius Randle, horrible games. RJ had half a horrible game. Jalen Brunson, horrible defense. He was not great defensively tonight. Happiest day of the summer will be when RJ is traded for X. Man. Oh, God. I got to tell you, I'm feeling positive about RJ after that second half. I was really impressed with the second half. I thought he was really good in the second half. And again, I unloaded on this guy at halftime. I was so pissed at him. And the reason, and I nailed it down for myself because I talk it out. That's what I do. I talk it out. When he's going bad, the shots that he puts up are shots that you know are not going to go in. So if I'm sitting here on my couch and I know the shots aren't going to go in, he has to know too. And then 0 of 8.5 is 0 of 8.5. It's not great. I'm positive about RJ right now. Positive. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Andrew, why doesn't anyone talk about Tibbs' body language? I don't know how to respond to that. Because he's Tom Thibodeau? Have you met Tom Thibodeau? Probably not. Hushzu, I wish there was no salary cap because I really can't see this team's future without our homegrowns. So proud of everyone tonight for stepping up. It's not about the salary cap because you could go over the salary cap and you can, look at the Golden State Warriors, look at the Clippers, look at the Sixers, look at the Nets before they made their trades, and I think even so now. It's about if you don't have a contending roster in place, it's about maintaining flexibility. Which is not to say that you can't maintain flexibility and re-sign all your own guys. I think it's just that, theoretically, younger players are more tradable when they are because once you start signing all these guys to second contracts, once you sign Quickly to a second contract, and once you sign Grimes to a second contract, you can only put so many of them in the trade. The nice thing about having players who are really good on rookie contracts is it's you only need the one big salary, right? Or maybe 1.5 big salaries. So again, just theoretically, RJ and Fournier, there's your money, right? There's your money in a deal. Or whoever, RJ and Mitch or something. And then you could throw in a Grimes because he's making $2 million. That's why, that's why it's easier to trade those players when they're on rookie contracts as opposed to when they sign their next deal. They could afford to keep. Well, you could go over the cap to sign your own guys. It's just about maintaining that flexibility and trying to build a contending roster. Is it possible that they could get there without trading any of these young guys? I don't know about any. Because you need the outgoing salary and Evan Fournier, and even if they guarantee Derrick Rose, I don't know if that's enough. And plus, if you're sending out Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose for the money, even if you add in an Obi Toppin or something, and then you bring someone back. Well, I guess if you added in Toppin, theoretically you're sending out one rotation player. So maybe if you brought back another rotation player, but then, I don't know. You know what? Maybe, who knows? Anything's possible, right? Anything's possible. On a night like tonight, anything should be possible. Who knows? Maybe they get to keep Grimes and Quickly and RJ. I don't know. I think it's unlikely. I think at some point one of these players is going to go out in a trade, if not more than one. But I'm like you, man. I love these. I really do. I so badly just want to keep watching these young players grow. And you know what the shame of it is like if they had drafted a superstar at some point, you know, you wouldn't have to really worry about these decisions because they would have that. We wouldn't have to be sitting here talking about like, well, they need their number one, or at the very least their number, like, you know, their 1A or something. Like, we wouldn't have to be talking about that. If we had drafted a superstar, we would have that player. And then it's like, yeah, sure. Pay Grimes, pay Quickly, pay Obi, pay all these guys. Because you already have your number one in place, and then you got your Brunson and your Randall and your, all the way down the line. Thanks, Hush. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? This might have my vote for the best win of the year. Man, that top 10's getting crowded. I'm gonna start writing that article. After this win, I think I could start writing that piece, and I'm gonna have to pre-write some stuff because I'm gonna be going away for play-in week. No Randall or Brunson, and we close the game out. Great stuff. I hope that Rat Riley crawled out from under the one train platform to watch this one. Was he even in the Garden? I have no idea. I hope he was. I hope he saw this firsthand. I'll read a quick Dallas quote. Dallas lost tonight, which is, I guess, at this point, not ideal. Irving, Doncic, and Kidd all said they believe Dallas has enough to get things sorted out and make the playoffs. All of them were relatively upbeat after this game, all things considered. Irving spoke about the Mavs needing more poise late. Kidd spoke about missed shots. It's tough life for the Dallas Mavericks. 3 games under 500. The New York Knickerbockers are 14 games better. 14 games better? No, 7 games better. But they are I was saying 14 because the Mavs are 3 under 500 and we are 11 over 500. Man. Hamdy M, I love IQ. That's it. That's the tweet. Nothing more to be said. I love IQ too. Brian Carey, what's going on, Brian? My God. Andrew in the chat. I think this is referring to the Riley comment. Eat shit, and I hope it gets on your Armani suit. What did Pat Riley ever do to you, Andrew? You weren't even, you don't even remember when he left. You were, what, 7? Jesus Christ. Have some respect. My Lord. Brian Carey. I'm not reading that. Shout out to Walt Perrin, unsung hero of the front office. I don't know how unsung he is, man. I mean, yes, we don't talk about him enough, and we should. You're right. Fantastic job by him. Fantastic job by him. And again, that's why you went and got him. And fantastic job by Leon Rose for going out and getting one of the most respected talent evaluators in the sport. My God, you want to know what would have gotten Leon the executive of the year? And I don't want to go down this road because it's not a fun road to go down. But if they had kept the pick and drafted Williams, the Oklahoma City Jalen Williams, he might have executive of the year wrapped up if he had drafted that kid, which, again, he had some fans in New York. I don't know if it was Perrin. I don't know if it was Tibbs. I know he had fans. But
all right, I'm jumping in. So there's about to be 5 random Fred Katz super chats.
Is that for real?
That's real. Fred Katz has been in the chat all night, and he didn't know how to super chat, so he was just sent. It's about to be random, is what I'm gonna say. And then eventually he figured it out and sent in a question. So we start here.
There's no comment.
I know. I'm just saying. That's just so you know, you're gonna see a random Fred Cat super chat and just say thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
There you go. And that's what you'll see. We call him Fred Chats, by the way, because he's in our chat. right now.
Fred Chats, Fred
Yes.
Katz, Fred Chats.
Bingo.
I see what you did there.
Okay.
That's really well done, Andrew.
Thank you.
Someone should give you
maybe down, but not out,
I would like to shout out whoever has hacked Fred Katz's Twitter account. Just ingenuity off the charts. Truly. Dom Cappuccini. Choosing between Grimes and Quickly is Can we send Fred a gift basket, by the way, for his super chat contributions? And for always coming on the pod. Choosing between Grimes and Quickly is going to be a tough conundrum in the future. Who knows? Maybe we don't have to choose between them. I hope we don't. I really do hope we don't. I don't think it's a fait accompli that only one of them will be on this team moving forward. I really don't. And that may be naive of me, but I'm putting that out there right now. And I choose to believe it. Great drafting. We'll need a lot more of these performances the rest of the way, with or without Julius Randle. Keep it rolling, guys. Yeah, I mean, Friday is going to be tough. We don't know what's going on with Donovan Mitchell. I don't believe I've seen any injury updates with him after he rolled his ankle late in the fourth quarter yesterday against Atlanta. Look, the game's in Cleveland. I would not fault this team one iota for having a bit of a letdown game against the Cavs. Knowing them, they'll be in it. I'm not counting on a win in that game. But, yeah, whatever. We'll see. Thank you, Dom. Robert, is this Robert Cross? It is Robert Cross. Of course it is, because who else hashtags 53 wins? John, can you wax poetic for IQ? This man was built for the Mecca. He loves the garden, and we love him. Hashtag 53 wins. All right. You want me to wax poetic? Robert Cross? You want me to wax poetic? Who are the players over the last, let's say, since the 90s teams? All right, so we'll cut it off at Sprewell, Houston, Canby. All right, we'll cut it off there. Who are the players that have had this kind of, that have captured the Knicks, the hearts, minds, souls of Knicks fans, like Emmanuel Quickly? Over the last 22 years, I guess, if you want to put it. Names that come to mind. It's funny. And I'm not, Carmelo Anthony is not part of this conversation, which, and again, Andrew Claudio, very clear. That is because Carmelo Anthony was a superstar player. Now, maybe Emmanuel Quickly keeps getting better and becomes that level of player. I'm talking about more guys that were not. So basically, I'm excluding Melo, and I'm excluding Melo, and I'm excluding Porzingis, because again, he made the All-Star team. And I feel like I should kind of exclude Marbury too, even though I don't know if Marbury would even be in this conversation. So here, who can we even compare him to? J.R. Smith is the first name that popped into my head. J.R. Smith, 6th Man of the Year award winner, has an argument for being maybe not. Well, Tyson Chandler was the second best player on that team, second or third best player on a team that won 53 games, so significant. Not drafted by the Knicks, only really had. Because he became, right after 12-13, right after they gave him the contract, he became an immensely frustrating player. So really, with JR, it was really only, it was it started the year before, the Linsanity year, but obviously, mostly it was 12-13. That was a year and a half, though, even then, where JR was Quickly now, this has been 3 years. So I'm going to put Quickly ahead of JR. Man, it's been some tough times. I mean, Jamal Crawford was here for 5 years, but the team stunk. They stunk. And and what tells you all you need to know about Jamal Crawford? And it's not his fault because the team was terrible and they were mismanaged and it was a shit show. But when Donnie Walsh traded him for a bag of balls, nobody said boo. Nobody shed a tear. So I'm putting ahead of Crawford, putting him ahead of Nate Robinson because he's a much better player. David Lee made an all-star team here. David Lee was here for 5 years, made an all-star team. The team stunk when he was here too. Again, was it David Lee's fault? No. He was here for 5 years, and he got better and better and better each of those years. I remember those years. I don't remember David Lee ever having this kind of effect on fans. I just don't. Timmy didn't. Timmy was drafted by the team. He didn't. Chandler didn't. Damon Shumpert didn't. We wanted him. We wanted Shump to be the guy. And now I'm going down the Knicks all-time scoring list. Emmanuel Quickley, 63rd on the Knicks all-time scoring list. How about that? He moved ahead of Derek Harper recently. Talk about things I did not realize. Moved ahead of Derek Harper in like the last week or last 2 weeks. So Gallinari had a moment. Don't think, not like this. Again, not his fault really because the team wasn't good. And then they traded him for Mitch, or for Melo, who was then traded for the pick that became Mitch. Yeah, I don't. So I think since the 90s teams, if you exclude Carmelo, who was an MVP candidate, and, current company excluded Julius, All-Star, Jalen Brunson, should have been an All-Star. If you exclude that level of player, I do not think that there is anybody who has had the impact on winning and the impact on this fan base that Emmanuel Quickley has had since the 90s. Testament to this player and his work ethic. Good stuff, Robert. Dan Hidalgo, what's going on, Dan? Such an important win for this team's psyche. I agree with you completely. I think it was more important for their psyche than it was for like the standings and the playoff positioning. The path to long-term organizational success revolves around surrounding IQ and Grimes with talent. I'm here for this energy. Next, I think Dan has a little bit more, so I'll wait to comment on this. I'm vehemently opposed to any trade involving them. As you should be. As every Knicks fan should be. Jeremy and I are at some point are going to do a pod together, not this week and not anytime soon because we don't want Robert Cross to have a heart attack. But at some point, the summer will be here. And if the Knicks don't win the championship, which, again, crazier things, right? If the Knicks don't win the championship, we're going to talk about the summer and what they could do to upgrade and like who do you include, who do you not include? Like there are 5 untradeable players in the NBA or untouchable players, whatever term you want to use. 5, 6, something like that. So, but a player doesn't need to be untradeable to make it such that, realistically speaking, given what they mean to you and your organization, and again, to use your term, organizational sustainability, for them to mean enough to that where when compared with their market value and what they would get on the open market in a trade, and to be very clear, Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes, if they were to be traded, would fetch, like, I do believe they could be components of a superstar trade. And look, maybe the right superstar becomes available to the point where you have to look at one or both of those guys and be like, listen, we love you. You're everything to us. But this is, and I don't want to start going through names here, but like Are there players that you include like both of those guys in a trade for? Yes, those players exist. We know who they are. But unless it's one of those guys, boy, do you, and there are not a lot of them, do you have to be just super careful because you do, and this I think speaks to your point, Dan. You have a chance here. And this is, and again, we talk about the Spurs and 20 years of sustainable excellence and that being the model. That's not realistic the way the NBA is and the way contracts work now and the way, like, wasn't that long ago you could sign a player to like a 6 or 7 or 8 year, like 8-year deal, but like 6-7 year deal. Like that's not the way the NBA is now. And like there have been 2 examples of sustained excellence over the long haul over the last 20 plus years, and it's literally 2. And they both feature 2 of the 10 greatest players of all time. It's Steph Curry and Tim Duncan, drafted by the organizations. And by the way, Steph Curry signed the best bargain contract in the history of the NBA because he had some ankle issues as an extension off of his rookie contract. That played a large role into keeping that thing going. That's not realistic anymore. So like the notion where it's like, hey, let's keep this whole gang together for 10 years. It's like, it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean you don't have a chance to do whatever the modern version of that is as far as keeping your young talent. And we do still see teams able to do it. And I think the Celtics are a good example of that right now. You know, Marcus Smart, not a superstar player. Robert Williams, not a superstar player. Like those guys are members of the core there. And I don't think either of them are going anywhere. And Marcus Smart, you know, he may very well retire a Celtic. You know, Robert Williams just signed his second contract. And like, you know, whatever. Like there are other examples, I think, in the league today. Again, the Celtics are the one that comes to mind, but it's so hard. I would just, maybe the Cavs have a little bit of it going on, but again, those are all-star level players. You know, most of the time it's going to end up like the Hawks. And they did draft a guy who's a perennial all-star, you know, where you have to start breaking the thing up. Fingers crossed, man. I hope so. It's just hard. It's hard. Team building is hard in the NBA. And it's not getting any easier. So, yeah. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on, Dom? Choosing between Grimes and Quickly is going to be a tough conundrum for the future. Great drafting. We'll need a lot more of these performances the rest of the way, with or without JR. Keep it rolling, guys. We saw this one. I read this already. But thank you again, Dom. Man, the bronchitis clearly is hitting Andrew hard. Keith, what's going on, Keith? Huge win. I'm so proud of our guys, especially the way Quickly and Grimes balled out. RJ was much better. It's okay, Andrew. In the second half, to his credit. Indeed, he was. And I'm also proud of our guys, especially Quentin Grimes and Quickly. Quickly's getting the 4-star, the 3-star. Grimes is getting the 2-star. I gotta give Hardenstein the 1-star over RJ, just because RJ was really bad in the first half. And then Keith ends with saying, respect to Tibbs for closing without Jalen too. Get better ASAP, Julius, and shouts to KFS. FCK the Heat. We know what you mean. Yes. Fred Katz with another super chat. Thank you for your contribution, Fred. Yanni Golan. Hey, KFS. Macri, quick as the 3rd star. How about we let this team run and see what happens? Worst case scenario, we trade RJ. Let's freaking go Knicks. Screw the Heat. Ha ha. This is the energy that I have this summer. Not the worst case scenario we trade RJ. I'm not. Listen, I think they will probably wind up moving RJ. That's just my guess. It's not necessarily what I want. I don't even think it's what they should do. Necessarily. Depends on the trade. Because I think you'd be trading him when his value's low. And if it's one thing I've been consistent about since I've thought about the NBA, been watching in the NBA, you really try hard not to trade guys when their value is low. Now, is it possible that his value could get lower? Yeah, it's possible. We'll see. But like, I think that is part of why, and this is I talked to Chris Herring about this on the pod, and we kind of went a different direction with it. If they are successful enough to close out this season, and my God, do they have a long way to go? Again, they could lose in 5 games in the first round of the playoffs. You know, it's like crazier shit has happened. I don't think that's going to happen. It's possible. So, but if they are successful enough in the playoffs, and God, if they could win a playoff series and like push a team in the second round, then at that point you do kind of have the luxury to be more selective, I think, about what you do. Now, as I say that, in the back of my mind, I am telling myself, Macri, you don't really believe that. And here's why I say that. Because tell me when, in the NBA, in the last decade, there has been a team that has not been a contender, and they bypassed the opportunity to make a trade that, on the surface, would make them a contender. I could think of one example, and it's the Boston Celtics. When they, and even that is kind of like on the fence in all the trades, all the rumored trades where they didn't want to give up Jaylen Brown, whether it was didn't want to give him up for Paul George or didn't want to give up for Kawhi Leonard. Like, would any, or maybe Jimmy Butler, I forget if that was ever rumored. Whatever. They had opportunities to trade Jaylen Brown, and they didn't do it. And would any of those trades have made them contenders? I don't know. Now, here's the thing. The Boston Celtics were in a unique position. They had that Nets pick hanging out there forever. Or the Kings pick, I guess, or both, right? No, it was the Kings pick. They had the Kings pick hanging out there. The Nets picks they used on Tatum and Brown. They had the Kings pick hanging out there. So, like, and they had all these young players, and there was no urgency whatsoever. There was zero sense of urgency. Other than that, though, basically any time a team that wasn't a contender had a chance to make a trade that made them a contender, like, they jumped at the chance. Like, teams don't bypass that opportunity. And several times we've had teams that made huge, like, earth-shattering, like, move a whole bunch of stuff to get a superstar player trades that did not make them a contender, and they still do it. This is just what teams do. So when you say, let this team run and see what happens, trust me, I want to believe what I just said a few minutes ago, which is that if they do well enough in the playoffs, they're going to have the luxury to do that. NBA history tells us that that is not the case. So I don't know. I don't know. It's man, it's gonna be an interesting summer. And just the last thing I'll say, this is not completely up to them. It's a matter of who shakes free. And the NBA is in an interesting spot right now where that player that, like, you can't say no to, like Joel Embiid. If Joel Embiid comes on the market and, like, you could put together a package that the Sixers take, like, you're going to trade for Joel Embiid, and then whoever goes out, and you're not gonna. That's gonna be it. But, like, there's not I don't see a whole lot of players on that level being made available, and the ones that could, like, Dame is not on Joel Embiid's level, but, like, you know, there might be a fit issue. Or in the case of, like, let's say Paul George, if the Clippers flame out in the first round or maybe flame out in the play-in, like, Paul George is old and injury prone and very expensive. Like, the Knicks may have the wherewithal. They may have the gravitas internally. That's the wrong word. But, like, the stomach for it internally to be like, you know what? We're not going to go too crazy to make that deal. Or the guy we watched tonight, Jimmy Butler. Another guy. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? Quentin Grimes now up to 38% from 3. Again, I kept all the receipts. You know who you are. Want to shout out RJ. I don't believe in the clutch gene, but if I did, RJ has it. Yeah, I think he does. Clutch number. I got to look up updated clutch numbers on RJ Barrett because I know they weren't great to start the year, and maybe they've gotten better now. Lee, what's going on, Lee? First time, long time. Thank you for contributing, Lee. We appreciate it, man. I think 3 things happened this offseason. 1, IQ signs an extension that is bigger than RJ. I'm going to get back to that in a second. 2, they try like mad to move RJ in a star trade. I think they will try to do that. 3, the Knicks are very aggressive star hunting or trading up in the draft. What are your thoughts? I do not think they're going to trade up in the draft. I think there is almost zero chance of that happening because we don't need to go through the whole history of it, but just like if this front office has shown you anything, it is that they want to win now. They're not trying to win tomorrow. They want to win now. Now, they have been good at accumulating young assets and building through the youth and not being as irresponsible as several other Knick regimes have been in actually making their draft picks and growing those draft picks internally and the whole thing. That doesn't mean they don't want to win now. They want to win now. And they've proven that time and time again. So I do not think that they're going to trade up in the draft because that is a move. Then that guy is ready to lead your team to something in whatever, 4, 5, 6 years if he hits. That's not going to happen. I think they will be aggressive star hunting. I think RJ is the guy as much perhaps for his salary as anything else because he's going to, the poison pill goes away and he's, $23.8 million, I think, this summer. So you could build a lot of trades around him and Fournier. Does IQ sign an extension higher than RJ? So RJ's 107.5 guaranteed. That would make Emmanuel Quickly the highest paid player on the Knicks. I think his can you imagine if Emmanuel Quickly made the same as Jalen Brunson? And at the same time, if I was Emmanuel Quickly's agent, I would be like, don't sign a contract for under $100 million. Can they get it for something around 100? I hope he signs for it. I hope they give it to him. I think it's fair value. HamDM, I love this team. I love KFS. I love everybody. We are all in love tonight with everybody. I'm in love with all of you. Exhibition continues. No words, just hearty laughter. Ha 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 ha. Let's freaking go Knicks. Let's freaking go KFS. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the love tonight. This is great. This has been fun. This is a good win. Oh, wait a minute. He's not going to listen to this. He's probably sleeping, but I got to do it anyway. My best friend, Aaron Berman, one of my longtime best friends. I've been lucky enough to have a few best friends over the years, but he's unequivocally one of them. Aaron Berman just turned 40 3 minutes ago. So happy birthday, Aaron Berman. I hope you're doing well wherever you are right now. And I just wanted to say that. Zach Horowitz, what's going on, Zach? I love Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, but against the Heat and anybody who plays small, that's our death squad right there. Suffocating defense and excellent ball movement. iHeart's defense. The thing, and I need to think about this more, and I'm having Fred Katz on the pod next week, so I'm sure I'll get into this with him and Benji as well. I'd love to have a conversation with both of them at the same time about this. But I think there is something about Hartenstein's defense that may work. I don't know if I want to say it works better with the small ball alignment that we saw, or if it is a better fit with that than Mitch's defense. Because iHeart is more comfortable obviously getting out on the perimeter and hedging and getting back and being just so aware. So when you have that small group out there with quickly Hart, Grimes, and Barrett, 4 players who you could kind of switch those 4. I mean, you can't do it. Obviously, you can't do it against every team, but at the same time, like, again, using the extreme example where it's the Cavs who start a 7-footer at the 4, or however big Evan Mobley is. I don't know. Like, let's say, who's the smallest of those guys? I guess Quickly. Let's say you get Quickly on Mobley, right? Like, now, again, you're probably not going to use that lineup against them, but just to an extreme example, does it make a real big difference whether it's Quickly on Mobley versus like Hart or RJ on Mobley? I don't know that it does, and Hardenstein's ability to just be all over the place on the floor defensively, I really do. It gives you a lot. It gives you a lot extra. And the wonderful thing about him, and like, Bam is the best at this. Bam is the standard bearer right now in the NBA as far as this is concerned, where it's, getting out there, and whether it's a switch or it's a hedge or it's just he's showing, or something like nail help or whatever the case may be, to be able to do all that stuff and then give you real rim protection. And again, to be clear, Isaiah Hartenstein's not Bam Adebayo, but he could do all the things credibly, including protect the rim. So it really does add another component. And I'm with you, man. I mean, I'm not saying Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are not going to be closing games when they're healthy, but this gives them another look, and it's a real look. And I think Benji tweeted about it after the game. This is something the Knicks have to really consider as part of their arsenal and part of their attack. Appreciate that, Zach. What's up, J-Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. Star of the game is Tibbs. It took grapefruits to keep Jalen Brunson on the bench. Hold on, I have. How about 2 of these? This is my daughter's Magic 8-ball. What do you have to do? You have to ask this a yes or no question. Do you think Tom Thibodeau found religion? Reply hazy. Try again. Oh, that's unfortunate. It took grapefruits to keep Jalen Brunson on the bench for the entire 4th quarter. He read the game flow correctly and knew he needed stops to get the win. Yep. I mean, again, I think he was thinking about putting Brunson back in there, and who could really blame him if he was? It's Jalen Brunson, but ended up making the right decision. Good job by him. Sam Garcia. What's going on, Sam Garcia and the entire Garcia clan? I thought that closing lineup was interesting. Great win, though. I hope Randall's all right, but he could use the rest. And as always, F Miami. Yeah, I think I wrote a newsletter a week or 2 ago about different lineups and things, and I think I mentioned a lineup. Andrew, if you want to look up, I should know this because it's the story of the game, probably the closing lineup, and we've been talking about it. Have those 5 players played any minutes before tonight on the floor at the same time? My inclination is to say no. I think a few weeks ago when I wrote the newsletter I'm referring to, I was bringing up the notion of having Deuce, Quickly, Grimes, and Hart, I guess, with Hardenstein. Because that, to me, is the most dangerous defensive lineup. Although, you swap out RJ for Deuce, Deuce pound for pound is a better defender than RJ, but RJ does give you that additional size, which I do think you need. So I wonder if this is actually the better way to go. Andrew tells me there is a super chat that addresses the exact number of minutes coming up. Okay. Thanks, Sam. Spicy Ham. First time, long time, John. Seriously, I'm a huge fan of this, and this is my first super chat. Thank you so much for contributing. We appreciate it. Shout out Johnny Mac and Cheese. I could go for some mac. I'm hungry, man. I don't know what I'm going to eat. My wife made some delicious chicken meatloaf, and I was like, I was so tired. I took an hour and a half nap before this game. I was so tired. I wasn't even hungry. I don't know if that happens to anybody else where you're so tired you're not even hungry, even if you haven't eaten in several hours. So I can't decide if I'm going to make myself a chicken cutlet sandwich or a meatloaf sandwich in a bit. Anyway, you made me think of that with the Johnny Mac and cheese. Quick question: does Tibbs hate Obi? If so, why? No, I don't think he hates Obi. I think. Oh, look at that! The Kings clinched the playoffs. Nice. No, I don't think he hates Obi. I think he does. I think he has trust issues with Obi, and I think, like, and again, like, this is one of those things where I don't want to get into the whole Tibbs Obi thing, but I think if you look at most coaches and you look at situations where young players are not playing as many minutes as it would seem that they should be playing. And again, we focus on this because we see it here. Go any team in the NBA. Any team in the NBA. I mean, Jesus, I'm watching the Phoenix Suns right now. I guarantee you there are a contingent of Suns fans being like, Mikal Bridges is averaging 25, 30 points in Brooklyn. Why the F didn't we give him more responsibility here? You know? And again, you could go through every team with this stuff. Like, we watched the Rockets 2 days ago. Now, granted, that coach, there's a lot of people that want him fired, but like Steven Silas, like Sengun doesn't get them. Like Tari Eason is not like getting as many minutes as a lot of people would like. Like all these guys. And it's in the common thread, I think, maybe not so much with Mikal Bridges, but the common thread oftentimes with this stuff is the young players, there is a higher variance level. And I think NBA coaches, by definition, are people who want more control, not less. And when you have a young player and you introduce the young player into the ecosystem and you increase the variance level and you decrease the level of what the coach feels they can control with the 5 players they put on the floor, that's why you see this stuff happen. And I think with Obi, there was a higher variance level because, you know, he's a big that isn't a great rebounder and is certainly not a great defender. You know, we saw the first couple of plays of the second half, you know, like Kevin Love got a couple good looks for 3. It wasn't only Obi, but like that's, again, it's increasing your variance level. You know, inconsistent offensive player, shall we say. So I think the answer to that question is, again, it's a lot simpler than we make it out to be sometimes. Fred Katz with another super chat for $4.73. God bless you, Fred. Fred Katz now with one for $1.27. I don't think we've ever gotten super chats for those amounts before, Fred. Thank you so much for your generous contribution. St. Nick's NYC, IQ's baby James Harden. I mean, former 6th Man of the Year award winner. Also a former 3rd pick in the draft, we should note. James Harden is James Harden. James Harden led the league in scoring, scored the most points per game that the league has seen since, I forget, did he average more than Kobe? I know the highest scoring points per game seasons since Wilt. I'm pretty sure it was Harden, Kobe. Did Iverson get up there one year? Jordan. I think that's it since Wilt. Whatever. Or maybe Kareem. Also, Kareem's first or second year, I think he averaged a ton of points. Anyway, James Harden is the type of scorer that like comes around once in a generation, I think. And he kind of broke basketball with the step back 3-pointer. So I can't do that. But you did say baby James Harden. So like, I don't know. When James Harden was in Oklahoma City, I don't know how many people were saying he was going to make all-star teams one day, let alone MVP. Chris Carter. Not sure what Randall's status is, but given the buffer they earned, if he was good for Friday, I would give him a few days off. He seemed checked out, which I attribute to fatigue. again, I hate reading into Julius Randle's body language. Checked out is like checked out. I can't. I don't know if I could. I'm not saying you're wrong to perceive what we saw that way, because that's the correct assessment. I don't feel comfortable saying that because he looked checked out that he was checked out. Maybe it's an odd line to draw, but it's one I feel is important. So I appreciate that, Chris, though. Thanks. Dom Cappuccini with one more. Welcome back, defense. I knew you never left deep down inside. Hashtag we back again and almost playoff back. Fantastic win. Yes. Is the defense back? Or how much of the defense has to do with the personnel that was on the floor? That's the tough part, because at the end of the day, when we get to the playoffs, this team is going to start, presuming they are healthy, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. And I can't believe we have to include Mitchell Robinson in the group now suddenly, where it's like questionable defense. And again, Mitch's defense is still very good, but for this team to operate on all cylinders, and Benji talked about this the other day, and Chris Herring, unprompted, brought this up. So, like, again, it's, this is accurate. Mitch needs to be like a special defender. And he has not been a special defender for a while. So is the defense back, or was it just those guys? Because, again, you're in playoff games. You're not. The odds are you're going to have Jalen Brunson on the floor at the end of a playoff game, and Julius Randle is certainly going to be on the floor at the end of a playoff game. Like, the defensive commitment needs to permeate everybody on the roster, and then there's the question of, like, well, how much can it permeate everybody? Like, Jalen Brunson was getting beat tonight, and then the other nice thing about when you have that defensive alignment is then when, like, RJ essentially becomes your worst defender, which, let's be honest, he was at the end of the game. Suddenly he looks really good, right? It's tough. It's tough. I hope it's back. I hope it's back. Back tonight, that's for shit sure. Robert Cross with another one. Enjoyed the casuals tonight. KFS people should follow those dudes. Good people. Hashtag 53 wins. Let's get can we shout them all out? Andrew, am I allowed to do this? Spend a minute. So the casual crew. It is I should know their Twitter's hashtags off the top of my head, but I look them up. So we have Sean with a W, that is at SHAWN with a W _. So Sean commented earlier tonight. He is awesome. Follow him. Mensa at more like Mensa, MENSA. The gambling man, the RJ Stan. I kid. I very much appreciate Mensa's support of RJ, and again, how reasoned it is and the whole thing. And he's great. And then XJ, a man, to my heart, because it's all analytics and stats and numbers. So that's at Xavier J Designs, XAVIERJ Designs. And you could also see a lot of XJ's designs if you follow him. So go do all that. They're awesome. And did I forget anybody? No, I think that's it. Jessica with another one. Huge effing win. Huge even. That's how I say it, but that's just me. It's a Staten Island accent. I was worried about this game literally since the last Heat game. 4 more wins to lock the 5th seed. Let's fucking go Knicks. I was worried about this game from not even the last Heat game, from the Heat game before that, because once the moment that we took the first 2 Heat games, at that moment it sets up like a not false equivalency, a false something in your mind where it's like, oh, we've won the first 2 Heat games, so obviously we will win at least one of the next 2 Heat games. And all I could think to myself was, man, how disappointing would it be? False sense of security. Thank you. Andrew. How disappointing would it be if we took the first 2 Heat games and we lost both of the next Heat games and we lost the tiebreaker with it? And I was kind of like preparing myself for it. And even leading up to today, I can't say I didn't think we were going to lose today, but I can't say I had a ton of confidence going into tonight, even though we were 6-point favorites. And even though Brunson was playing. And you know what? The way they closed that first half, I thought they were going to win. The way they closed the half. And I said it, to my credit, I did say it on the halftime Zoom. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate you. Jesse Conover, Jimmy Butler all sore at the loss and leave Josh Hart hanging at the end of the game. Did he? I didn't see that. Is there a video or something? Whatever. I don't really care that Jimmy Butler's butt hurt. Dead Wards 604. I love Tibbs sticking with the bench unit to close it out. They were feeling it, but I hope Jules is okay. Say what you want about him, but we can't lose him for the playoffs. This team's not winning in the playoffs without Julius Randle. I hope I didn't need to say that, but this team is not winning in the playoffs. I mean, the team is where they're at because Julius Randle was an insane offensive player all year and good enough on defense. And and by the way, it needs to be said, he's a better defender than Obi Toppin. Like, again, shouldn't need to be said, but in case it did, I'll say it. He's a better defender than Obi Toppin. He's a more consistent defender than Obi Toppin. Now, is it maddening when Julius does not give, like, forget max effort, when he doesn't give, like, a decent amount of effort? Yeah, it's maddening. But we've also seen this. This is a dude who's, like, kind of locked up Kawhi Leonard at the end of a big game, you know? And, like, he's capable of that. And to say nothing of, obviously, the offensive production and how much he's grown in terms of, like, think of how, like, for again, I'm not saying he's not still a frustrating player. He is. But think about how his process last year was, I mean, beyond maddening. And even, there are moments, obviously, we'll have complaints about him, but, like, from a process standpoint, you very rarely have an issue. So they need him. Duran visual variant. What's going on, Duran? Hope the rest for Randall turns out to be a blessing in disguise. Me too. If he does indeed rest. Dom with another one. Dom, you're crazy, man. He's a crazy man. I know you. Shout out to anybody who knows what that quote is from. I know you love Jimmy Buckets, but maybe choose too soon to talk that ish last week. You gotta love to see that. Nah, I'm thrilled. It makes it better. It makes it better because I have so much respect for Jimmy Butler. For them to squash him like a bug tonight, it feels great. I don't think Jimmy was at his best, and this is, again, 4 games this season against us. 2 of them, he was not at his best. So, another one from Dom. Everyone, let's all tweet one word, cute, to our buddy Giancarlo from Heatbeat. Shout out to Twitterless Fred. Hacked, but not a hack. Let's go Knicks. Let's see. Can I do this live right now? What is this? Oh, here we go. Andrew just sent me the video of Jimmy Butler leaving Josh Hart hanging. And what is Josh Hart doing? He's complaining to the ref. And Josh Hart's standing there looking at his hand. Oh, F you, Jimmy. F you. That is not cool. I'm going to share as much on twitter.com. Oh wait, this was Jessica. Jessica says, let's tweet out one word Q to our buddy Giancarlo from the Heatbeat. Sorry, Andrew messed that up. I blame Andrew fully. Obviously. Fred Katz, $3 super sticker. Wrote the word super sticker. Fred, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here. And Fred says, can I read this? I don't know if I'm supposed to read this. I'm definitely going to do no, I'm not going to read this. Fred Katz, now with an actual comment. Let's read Fred Katz's comment. Fred Katz, shout out to just all parties involved. A beat writer for the New York Knickerbockers, appropriately enough, took him 5 or 6 super chats to figure out how to do the super chat thing correctly. Says everything you need to know about the Knicks beat. Who would have thought Mark Berman leaving the Knicks beat, the quality of technological ingenuity would go down? Here we are. But just like, Knicks Film School, and here's member of the Knicks beat chiming in. Let's read his comment, shall we? Coming into tonight, the lineup the Knicks closed with had played only 27 minutes all year. There's Fred answering my question. Tibbs used it for the entire fourth quarter. Leaving Brunson. So there was not one sub the entire fourth quarter. Oh my God, I hadn't realized that until just now. Leaving Brunson on the bench. Thoughts on that move and on the lineup moving forward? My thoughts on the move were I would really love to know, and maybe a reporter for the New York Knickerbockers could do some digging and maybe go rewatch the tape, maybe go talk to some people about what happened. Did Brunson wave off Tibbs? Was he at the? I think I remember him at the scorers table. I don't. That's not rock solid though. So I want to give full credit to Tibbs. I don't know that I can do that though. My thoughts on the move were that it was the correct move. Especially tonight. And my thoughts on the lineup moving forward. Man. My first reaction, and I'm not sure if this is the proper first reaction, but my first reaction is if Julius Randle is healthy and Julius Randle more than any other player on this roster, including Jalen Brunson, Tom Thibodeau has shown he's going to play, putting blowouts aside, he's going to play Julius Randle 32, 3, 4 minutes every game. Every game. If you want more of this lineup, then that by definition means that Obi Toppin will be getting even less minutes than he's getting now. Now, I think there has already been some speculation in recent days / weeks as to when push comes to shove and we get into the playoffs, if Obi doesn't, are we sure Obi's going to stick as part of this rotation? So given that stuff is out there, and given the fact that there is at least a decent chance that Obi Toppin may not be on this team next year, and they may find a workable trade for him this summer as part of a larger trade or whatever, and the playoffs are not time to worry about hurt feelings, I'm just trying to think of how does that look? How does that look? Because tonight there was an obvious reason for it. If Randle is back, is it okay, Randle gets subbed for Obi. Obi comes in. It's not working great. Instead of putting Randle back in, it's the quick hook on Obi. So what does Obi play? 2-3 minutes? And then it goes to this lineup instead. And then if it works, it gives Tibbs a little bit more of a leeway to try it second half or the next game or whatever. And also, obviously, goes without saying, I do think it is somewhat matchup specific. I mean, the notion of the notion of seeing this lineup against the Boston Celtics is particularly exciting. And then the only other thing I will say is Jalen Brunson ever going to look as rusty as he did tonight, which is why I would be utterly shocked. No, that's incorrect. I was going to say I'd be utterly shocked if we ever see this as the closing lineup again. But if it's a situation where it's a game like tonight and if unfolds where it's oh, wait a minute, now we have a 10-point lead with 4 minutes left, defense is going to win this game, not offense. And that's where the quickly part of it comes in so prominently, where it's holy shit, now We have a guy who he could legitimately direct the offense. We don't have to worry about the fact like what is going to happen to our offense without Jalen Brunson down the stretch. And with that being said, there were some moments there under the 3-minute mark where there were a couple of possessions where it's like nothing's happening. Now, was it close enough to the end of the game where you didn't mind them kind of essentially running the clock down and settling for like not a great shot? I don't know. My inclination is to still say it's unlikely that we ever see it as a closing lineup down the stretch. But yeah, I think we'll see it again. Robert Cross, first time, long time. And thank you, by the way, Fred, for like you come on and you're incredibly generous with time that you don't have because you have a lot of work to do with the pods. And we appreciate your contributions, Fred. I owe you a beer. Robert Cross, first time, long time, John. Can you wax poetic about IQ? I've read this already. Did he make the exact same comment again? Yes, I still think Emmanuel Quickly is built for the Mecca. Guy Huber, then. Grimes needs to learn to land better. Always scary. There was the one moment in the second half where he landed on the floor and was like looking for a foul. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. I don't really worry about him, though. He seems pretty solidly built. Thanks, Guy Huber. Johnny Chiba, what's going on, Johnny? Plus by minus New York Knicks play team ball sans JR equals better team. I know, Johnny, you've never been a Randall guy. You've made that very clear. I think I'm going to hold off on the Knicks are a better team without Julius Randle. All NBA player. Frank Miranda. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. Would you do, oh my God, a 3-team deal that would net us Jaylen Brown, Dame to Boston, and RJ plus other stuff to Portland? Now you're speaking my love language. Remember, my wife read a book a few years ago about love language, and she told me about it, and I was like, this is utterly ridiculous. And then she was like, you don't love me because you're not willing to engage in a conversation about love language. I forget everything else about that love language thing. Anyway, you're speaking my love language, Frank. It would depend on the deal. I like Jaylen Brown as a player. I don't love Jaylen Brown as a player. I don't know that Jaylen Brown necessarily makes us a championship contender. Wildly talented offensive basketball player. Because there's picks going out. Like, here's the thing: if Dame's going to Boston, and Boston's giving up Jaylen Brown, I don't think Boston's going to be jumping up and down to throw picks into that. So we're the one throwing the picks to Portland. And if they're giving up Dame and they're getting back RJ, are they tanking next year? Like, I don't. So, like, I don't know that they do that because where's the blue chip thing? What's the blue chip thing that we send them? Because you're not. We could send them two. I'll read Andrew's comment in a second. 2 picks, 3 picks, whatever. We don't have that golden ticket pick. Like, again, the Celtics for many years had that Kings pick that was looked at as the golden ticket, right? We don't have that. We're only sending our own picks or protected picks, and like, I don't know, like, even if you say let's say we get the 11th pick this year, right? Is that plus RJ plus some distant unprotected picks? Is that enough to send to get it done? I just don't know how realistic that deal is. And again, I know I'm the guy who's been really hardest on RJ. I want to be really careful about that deal that we send that dude out in because it's again, the value is low and he has not been good this year. I'm still a believer in RJ. I don't know. Thanks, Frank. That was a good question. Fred Katz again, super sticker. Thank you, Fred. The Andrew comment. That probably means words of affirmation and quality time are two of her love languages. I'll see myself out. I think there was like 5 choices or 6 choices or something. But yeah, you're probably onto something there. Okay, here we go. Down the home stretch. 7. There are 7 love languages. Thank you, Andrew. Rose got a good one. Daniel Soto. What's going on, Daniel? First super chat of the season. Thank you for your contribution and for chiming in. Just wanted you guys to know I appreciate KFS. Thank you for keeping me sane all year. Least we could do. Thank you, Daniel. We appreciate you. Appreciate everyone watching. I don't know who's still watching. Been on here for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think this sets the new record, right? This is the longest post-game live stream, right? As it should be after a win like this. Thank you, Daniel. Sam Garcia's dad. The vibes are immaculate. Oh my God. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Sure, why not? Sam Garcia's dad with another one. Missed the win of the year. And I missed it because of work, getting my fix from KFS. Well, you're a good man, Charlie Brown. Your line of work, fortunately or unfortunately, does require long hours occasionally. It was a great win. Is it the win of the year? Man, people were calling the Denver win the win of the year. I think I still got to go back to double overtime against Boston. But this... I don't know, man. Is this the win of the year? Might be. But how about this? Also, we've won now 4 or 5 from the Heat because we won against the Heat at the end of last season. The Heat don't want the smoke. Isaac Duick. Was Melo a great Knick? Yeah, he was a great Knick. He should have his number retired. Absolutely, Melo was a great Knick. For sure. That was the easiest question we got all night. Is that Andrew's burner? Lost my fidget toy. Fred Katz with another super chat. Fred Katz is just on fire tonight. I guess does Fred not have any writing to do for tomorrow? I thought Fred had a job with a major publication. Oh wait, no, hold on, go back. I didn't read the comment yet. Where'd it go? Go back to Fred's other comment. Oh, here we go. Was having this convo with someone in the league yesterday. If IQ wins 6th man of the year, then his agent is probably going to use the Hero extension as the comp. Why would you sully my good vibes tonight? Since Hero won 6th man of the year last year and got $120 million for 4 years, what was it wasn't 120 guaranteed? Was it 114? Now you're going to make me look it up. Was Hero 112 or 114 guaranteed, or was it 110 guaranteed? It was not 120 guaranteed. I know that, or maybe it was 120 guaranteed because RJ got. Yeah, RJ was 120 and 107 was 0.5 was guaranteed. So then maybe Hero, whatever, was 120 guaranteed and the contract total was for a bigger number. I think that's it. Hero. I hate calling him Hero. You know that. Thank you, Fred. 120 guaranteed with 10 million and unlikely. And then Poole was even more guaranteed than Hero with a bigger total. I mean, that should be the ask, right? Fred Katz with another one. I have no way to tweet, so I'm just paying Macri to listen to my thoughts. Poole was 123 guaranteed, just a little bit more than Hero, which was the last one signed. How's that contract aged, by the way? So we could agree that that's the ask. The ask. Is that the right way to phrase it? I mean, Fred, you would know a lot more about this than me. Is that what agents do? Here's my ask. This is what I'm asking you for. I'm asking you for $120 million guaranteed over 4 years. Man. $30 million a year. Fuck. But that is what he should ask for. But Hero averaged. What do you average? I mean, I know we've moved beyond points per game as a statistic that we should be using to measure players, but Hero did have many a lot of points per game. Whether I forget if it was 20 or 21 or 22. Hero also has like there is a level of shot creation, but Hero doesn't have the defense. Hero's defense isn't close to Quickly's. I don't even know if the shot creation makes up for it. And he's not the passer that Quickly is. Man, is his agent's going to demand $120 million. Holy shit. Well, Leon, this is where you're going to earn your money, I guess. Shit. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time. This is still going on. I went to the gym, worked out, and came back. Did anyone say anything good? Hashtag 53 wins. Only you, Robert. You're the only one. Yeah, Simon's getting 100. Well, Simon's 100. I think Simon's contract is that's kind of a bar. But the Simon's contract, I wonder about, because he had. I mean, I know they like him, and they liked him allegedly, I guess, since they drafted him, or so the reporting says. But like that was like a half a season, or 2/3 of a season, whatever it was, of like that level of production for a team with absolutely no stakes. And he's a guy who's like the pull-up shooter that he is, which is a valuable skill, but he's not a defender either. And he got 100 million. I think what we're talking ourselves into here, sorry to go back to Fred's point. I hope you don't mind, Robert. This is the most interesting thing that anybody's brought up. Like, I don't think there's any freaking way he settles for anything less than $100 million now that we're going through this. His agent can't do that. Kevin Danishevsky, first time, long time, John. Do you still think that that Duncan Robinson is a max guy? Hashtag heat nulture. Yeah, I've had a lot of shitty takes over the years. That might take the cake. That might be number one. Max Duncan Robinson. On you know who 97. First time, long time. Again, attended the game tonight, and the vibes were beautiful. Hart is the first to wear number 3 after Starks. That's done it justice. I was about to say he's not the first to wear it after Starks. Thanks, KFS. Yeah, I don't even have to think very hard because there's so few Knicks that have done any number justice over the years, and Josh Hart has absolutely done number 3 justice. I hope as John Starks watches him, and I know Starks was in the arena tonight because he was doing some kind of on-court thing with somebody who won some award or they gave some check to or something. I hope he's proud watching Josh Hart wear his number. For sure. Manny Campos, what's going on, Manny? The chat listing all those former Knicks made me realize that we deserve this team. Enjoy it, Knicks fans. We are the best fan base in the NBA. I completely agree. And boy, have there been some names. Have there been some names? I don't want to go through them because I'm happy. Brian, what's going on, Brian Lests? On the first date with my girl, she wanted us to take the love language quiz. I refused. I already knew mine. Watching the Heat get dismantled I see there's some emojis here. By someone.
By the orange and blue.
I don't see orange on my screen. I see a box.
Oh, really? Okay.
An empty box.
It's 2 circles. One is orange, one is blue.
So 2 blue balls. Two balls, one of which is blue.
Yes. Get dismantled by the orange and blue.
I don't know what my love language is, but I know I don't want it to involve any blue balls.
But you do want it to involve the Knicks winning.
I do want it to involve the Knicks winning.
There you go. That's the comment would have been better if your screen had allowed you to see the emojis.
Instead, I just see 1 blue ball.
Okay. One more.
You didn't appreciate that?
Sure. It's late. I need to go take more medicine. So let's do this.
Emil Bumansor. I'm glad you're laughing at least.
We're in the hour 2.5 of this thing. Let's do it.
How many games do we need to win to lock up 5th place? I think the magic number is 4. So 4 is any combination of Knicks wins and I guess Nets losses, right? At this point. We needed ASAP so we could rest Brunson. He still doesn't look 100%. Yeah, I mean, like, look, I don't think they're going to be resting Brunson. I think Brunson played tonight. I think Brunson's going to keep playing every game. Randall's the guy they're going to rest. I think Brunson was rusty tonight. That's it. Okay. That it? All right. Guys, gals, friends, foes. One more? He's a madman.
Can't tweet.
So he can't tweet, so he just comes on this platform. Frederick Katz. Frederick, what did he say his real name was that got around the Knicks locker room that they started calling him?
We can't say it.
Oh, we can't say that because everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, now everybody can go on their quest. I'll say Frederick. Frederick Katz of The Athletic.
Fred Chats.
We should KHATZ. KHATZ. I don't know what my love language is, but I wouldn't want it to involve blue balls. Brought to you by Manscaped and Blue Chew. Should I know what Blue Chew is?
It's a performance enhancing chew.
Oh,
it's been a sponsor before
for
us
way
back. Yes, ja.
Oh, I mean, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes, your Kate Penis, exactly.
In all of his Kate Penis is getting paid.
Yes,
allegedly $180 million, 4 years. Who says no? I just made you work later. You're also making Andrew work later, and now you're just bringing out absurdities. So
I don't mind at this point. When you're up, you're up.
When you're up, that's what the Blue Chew does.
There you go. Presented by Blue Chew. Exactly.
That's a great slogan for a performance enhancing product. When you're up, you're up. If you're up for longer than 4 hours, seek medical attention. Robert Cross, 11. Got off. Andrew's losing. Andrew can't even. Robert Cross, someone who knows nothing of Blue Chew. Legend of GMAC, what the hell are you doing here? You are too important to be screwing around with your health before the playoffs. Hashtag 53 wins. Who needs the rest more? Julius Randle or Andrew Claudio? That's the Twitter poll.
I don't know.
That's the real question. Okay, are we done now?
As long as no more come in, then yes. But thank you everybody for the generosity tonight. Seriously.
Yes. Thank you for everybody's comments and love and the whole thing. I am not going to wax poetic because Andrew needs to finish this up and I need to write a newsletter. Is there another one?
Yes. And it's from Mr. Chats.
Look, Fred Katz, the MVP of tonight, clearly. Him and Emmanuel quickly. Maybe Fred Katz gets a star of the game. LeBronchitis' lugs sound like they need some Blue Chew.
LeBronchitis is great. LeBronchitis is great, by the way.
What I've appreciated is all of the NBA media members who have made the LeBron James of feet joke recently, and there was a quip between I listened to a few podcasts today. I think it was between Zach and Tim McMahon about a joke where they made a reference to like making a joke about another sport, and I really want to believe it was a Rex Ryan joke that both of them thought of. The LeBron James of feet.
I haven't listened to it yet, but
obviously you can appreciate.
Believe me, I can appreciate the Rex Ryan joke. Yes, that's a colleague of theirs too.
Oh yeah, it is a colleague of theirs. Maybe that's why they couldn't make the joke. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what made me. LeBronchitis is pretty good. Okay, thank you everybody. We love you all.
You are the LeBron James of postgame hosts, John Macri.
That's not true, but thank you. And you were the LeBron James of postgame production.
Thank you. And we have one more super chat.
One more super chat from Fred Katz. The LeBron James of feet is Rex Ryan's personal Blue Chew. LeBron James of feet is Rex Ryan's personal Blue Chew. I can't even wrap my mind around that. Leave that up. So
that's how it ends.
That's how it ends. Thank you, everybody. The best fan base in sports, best beat writers in sports. Seriously, shout out to Fred Katz. I joke, but it means a lot to me that he is become a part of the Knicks Film School family. And go subscribe to The Athletic. Here, shameless plug. Go subscribe to The Athletic. Every other freaking day they have a one deal or another where you get the thing for $1 a month for a year. It's the best $12 you'll spend, I promise. He's great. And thank you, everybody. Knicks fans, don't go to sleep tonight. Keep it up. Keep enjoying this one. I know I don't want to go to sleep. And I'm probably not going to. So we'll see you tomorrow for something.
Casual Friday.
Hey, giddy up.
There you go.
Talk to you soon, everybody. Peace out.
I do want to go to sleep.